Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
Hey, we got a win!
Here we go! Here we go,
got a win!
Yes!
6-8. Damn it, we're still out of the playoffs.
Not
6
yet.
and 8. 6 and 8.
Wow,
Yet. It's not over yet.
I don't know how much this means in the grand scheme of things because Lamar Jackson wasn't playing, but you take them as you can get them. And the Browns' playoff chances nearly doubled. They were 0.4%. Now they're 0.7%.
Although it was 1% going into the day yesterday.
So at 4:30,
Yeah.
it was actually, if you win out, I always do the predictor where you win out.
Okay.
They were a 7% chance to make it if they won out.
Yeah. Now it's 4,
But because of the Raiders game and the Jets game and some things that happened in the afternoon
Right, the Chargers
session,
won.
The Chargers won. That
Yeah.
was what really did it.
Yep.
But now the chances, even if they win out, the chances are only 3%.
No, down 3%.
So
Why are you still watching that?
because I'm a glutton for punishment.
So
see
it's
why.
basically 3% is basically like picking a number on the roulette board.
Right.
It
Pretty
put
much.
it all on one
Let it
number on the
ride.
roulette
31,
board.
baby.
But here's the thing. Why not?
No.
We understand that there's like 15 games that have to go their way, and it's unlikely. I think we're all realistic how unlikely it is.
Yeah, it's
but
not gonna
until you're
happen.
eliminated, why would you not at least pay attention to it?
It's meaningful football because you still have a chance.
I'm not saying it's not meaningful football. I'm not wasting my time on that.
I don't blame you.
I'm wasting my time on now. How do I get better?
Wasting your time on watching
Because I'm
them.
not going to the party. So
you're
you're
not
not getting a ticket to the
You're
party.
not going to. We're going to recap the entire Browns victory from Saturday. Which, by the way, when the Browns play on Sunday, they're 3-8. Any other day of the week, they're 3-0. We'll talk about that. What the hell is
Advanced
that?
analytics at its finest.
I think
You guys
it's
are welcome for
random.
that nugget.
It's, it could be random, but you also could look at it that I think when you look at the Stefanski record against the Bengals, like how do you explain that?
Right.
It's almost like these non-Sunday games are bigger. It's certainly in the mind of the player they're bigger. The players will always tell you they love playing when they have the stage to themselves. And these are all games where they've had the stage to themselves, either Thursday, Monday, or now the Saturday. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to it. We'll talk about that. Tim Couch is going to join the program. He'll be along with us here in about 30 minutes. And we're going to dive into everything that was the Cleveland Browns Saturday game. If there's time, and we're hoping that there is, yesterday, this weekend, may have been the most nutty, crazy,
insane,
bizarre weekend of football that we've ever seen.
There were like 6 jaw-dropping things that happened.
There were. And
6 games.
Chief among them was the Patriots, the way they lost when the game was
Yeah.
certain to go to overtime. And for that to happen to Bill Belichick,
Yeah.
because but let's be clear, Belichick did not call that play.
He's the head coach. It's on him. That's what I've been told.
No, it's not.
That's what I've been told.
No, it's not. When the players freelance, that's on the players. You can coach players to do the right thing in every moment. If they choose to not, that's on the player. And what they did was, I almost heard his aneurysm while I was watching that play. I almost heard it. And I can only imagine what that locker room was like after the game. I can't even imagine.
You know what? It's rare that I feel bad for I don't feel bad for him usually.
No.
But
in that case.
But the guy, Jacoby, who threw the pass, I felt really bad for him. Like, his eyes were red in the locker room. Like, he really was feeling it.
Belichick doing a terrible job.
He knew he screwed up.
And that's, for them and the playoff, Chase, that's crippling.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, why does he have a defensive coach as his offensive coordinator? Anyone
First
got
of all,
to answer that?
let me tell
Because
you
it
this.
doesn't matter.
Let me
well,
tell
their
you
offense
this.
sucks, so it certainly matters.
Let me
No,
tell you this.
for Bill, it doesn't matter.
That
Yeah.
is slightly egregious.
Slightly?
Like look, we don't have to get it. He got his
Ask Mac
peers.
Jones if he likes
Well,
it.
he's been a head coach, so
said-
it's not like he's got no
I
experience.
said,
in
Matt
offense.
Patricia dialing up plays now? This is
yeah,
what
right.
we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the Lions' offense since Matt Patricia. It's a lot better.
I hope we can get to that.
Wait, Jay, before you go, we need to take 1 second. G. Bush, you're wearing a scarf and a beanie.
We're not hearing you again.
We're not hearing you again.
We can't
guys
hear
can't
you
hear me?
again.
Oh, really?
2 days in a
So
row?
everybody flip your box to 1.
He said, "G, you're wearing a scarf and a beanie."
Because
Oh, you're
Look at
hearing
one.
him then.
No, I just haven't.
but-
Mike, talk
hearing
again.
him.
Okay.
Mic check. One
there
second.
we go.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can hear you on one.
I flipped the box G to 1. Jay, if you flip your
Yeah, I did.
IFB
I
box
did.
to 1, so we
All right,
all
hold
have
on.
them now.
Let me do an IFB check real quick. This
Okay.
is another on-air IFB check.
All right.
Raise your hand if you can hear me.
I
No.
cannot hear you now.
No.
I can hear you now.
Yes.
All right, that means IFB 1 line is working. IFB 2 is not. We'll have to troubleshoot that after the show.
All right, very
I
good.
feel like I'm
get
in
some
school.
of
By the
our
way,
best
isn't
people
it,
on that.
Raise
isn't
your
it
right hand to your
crazy
left hand.
that you said all the craziness of the weekend and you bring up the Patriots?
Yeah.
as
Well,
the
that was
craziest-
just one example.
No, but I'm saying like that's the standout thing, despite the biggest comeback ever.
That was
Ever.
2 days ago.
And
I know, it seems like so long
Yeah,
ago.
it's
Tom
ancient
Brady
history.
losing a 17-point lead at home for the first time in 90 games.
Yeah, but Tom, there's a lot of firsts this year on Tom. This was yesterday.
But
Sunday,
that's what I'm saying. All these crazy things happen.
Right,
It's just
but-
bonkers.
Sunday was the first time he had thrown for 2 touchdowns and a half this year. That used
Right.
to be standard protocol for
Yeah.
Brady.
He's
Every half he would throw for 2 touchdowns.
come on now, he old.
Yesterday
Crazy.
was the
He's old.
first time he did it
How old is Tom?
this
He's
year.
old
He's
now.
44, 45.
44.
How old's Brady?
Come on now.
44.
You know, he got a lot of work to put in behind the scenes, too.
What was crazy is Tony Romo was anointing the Buccaneers at halftime
back.
as the team to watch now in the entire NFL.
It was
And they
nice.
came out and got outscored 31-0 in the second half before the late add-on touchdown. Okay. You have a reader to do, right, on the Browns coverage?
I
On
do.
Browns
Whenever
talk?
we talk Browns now, it's brought to us by our very good friends at Tri-C Community College. Guys, if you don't know about Tri-C, you got to check them out. They are phenomenal. And our Browns Talk is sponsored by Cuyahoga Community College. Tri-C supports students financially, professionally, and personally, and they open up the doors of endless possibilities. Tri-C, it's where the future starts, and it begins on January 17th, 2023. That's when classes are open. Check them out. Sign up. Cuyahoga Community College. Our good friends.
Okay, you're kind of
Cuyahoga.
botching that name.
Cuyahoga.
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 Wait, I got to my left, he's saying Hoga, Anthony's saying Haga.
That's a long-running debate.
Only people from Parma say Haga.
I
That's
say
what I'm told.
Haga.
You say Haga?
I say Cuyahoga.
Yeah, so
Cuyahoga
we
County.
did a whole deep dive on this at Channel 3. Neither
We'll do
is
an overtime
wrong.
segment
Right.
this week. Which,
But
by
the
way, you gotta
majority of
remember,
people say Cuyahoga.
It tends to be when we did a very informal poll of our
Yeah.
newsroom. More people say Cuyahoga
Yeah.
than Cuyahoga, but neither is wrong. Is what we've
Jason's
been
an odd
told.
duck.
We
Let's
would,
be
we
honest.
would,
Hog's right in the middle of the word.
I mean, we would need to.
Well,
we would have to
I'm
poll
with Jason.
the Native American people to come tell
That's
us
true.
Yeah.
what they thought about that word. But
Yeah.
we sent Kim C to find them. They're, you know,
they're on a reservation in Oklahoma City
we
somewhere,
displaced all
wherever we
those
pushed
guys,
them off to.
so, yeah.
Okay,
Happy holidays.
so we'll dive in and we'll go round table, and Bull, we'll
Yeah.
start with you.
Yeah.
We hate to do this because
Yeah.
it's a win and we don't want to be overly negative,
Right.
but the facts are what they are. And I want to start by just your overarching thoughts on the game. We'll move to Deshaun Watson after we go round table, but
Yeah.
what do you make of this 13-3 win?
I thought it was a really positive win. I thought that, we talked about last week, this team has 4 weeks to kind of show you what they're made of. Are they going to play hard down the stretch, or are they going to completely crater? And clearly, at least for 1 week, and I will suspect the rest of the season, they will not crater. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but I thought they played with a lot of toughness. They, again, could not stop the run. I didn't know what what Harbaugh was doing. I don't know why they...
Well, it's on their offensive coordinator, not on Harbaugh. He threw the ball 30 times.
I thought we always blame Stefanski when they don't make changes.
Well, Harbaugh isn't calling the offensive plays.
Okay, but when the defense is bad, we sometimes blame Stefanski.
Well, no, it's all under the head coach.
But ultimately,
But I mean-
Harbaugh's got to say, why are we not running the ball on every play?
That is fair.
Tyler Huntley did not, and he's been okay at times, but he didn't even look like an NFL
He
quarterback
threw
in
it
this game.
30 times.
He was horrible. And their top 2 backs, Gus Edwards and
Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins, averaged 9 yards a carry between them.
I can't figure it out.
Now, in the red zone, the Browns defense toughened up. And the secondary played well. I thought it was Denzel Ward's best game of the year. That pick he had was a fantastic play.
Changed the
and
game.
It changed the game, and he almost had another one. The missed field goals, especially by Justin Tucker, were mind-blowing. The offense did what it had to do. Nick Chubb couldn't get much going until late, and they, obviously they had the lead, so they ran a lot late in the game. And he did what he had to do. And I thought, even though if you just look at the stats and you see Watson's numbers, you're like, eh. But if you watch the game, I thought it was a clear another step forward for Watson. Still not where you want him to be, but he did. It was the first game where he didn't have any turnovers. There weren't any clear missed opportunities. I think every week he's making less and less mistakes and playing better.
Brad?
I mean, I don't make much of it. I mean, you're playing a team that wasn't up to its full capacity. But the thing I look for is this, Jay. I want to see them get better. I want to see Watson get better. I want to see him get better weekly, and that's occurring. I want to see what happens now. They went to a traditional fullback set with the tackle leading the way.
Right.
And it was good to see that we can do two things at once. We can have Watson in the backfield. He can get under center. We can run Chubb, and we can throw the ball. And one of the things that I'm enamored with is the lack of pressure that we get up front defensively in the middle. I'm watching J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State guy, run wild here. I mean, he's just running wild. And this has been consistently the theme all season long.
Jay?
I thought John Johnson played really well. He had a huge fourth down hit on that.
Is that the
opening
best
drive.
he's looked as a Brown?
I think so.
I can't
yeah.
remember him looking any better.
I mean, he filled the gap, and I forget the fullback's name, the 4th and 1 play that they ran. He met him in the hole and stopped the play.
Again, a game-changing play.
Yeah,
Absolutely. First drive of the
Game-changing
game.
play.
I am concerned, only one touchdown again from the offense. I agree. Deshaun had 2 plays where I thought, okay, that's Deshaun. And one was a pass and one was a run.
Yeah.
And you could see it coming. And I don't care what the roulette wheel says, they're out of the playoff chase. So it's okay that it's taking a little bit of time. But it is concerning to me. 1 touchdown last week, 1 touchdown this week. Now, they played 2 really good defenses. Cincinnati and Baltimore are both really good.
They are.
Defensively. But you got to score more than 1 touchdown. And eventually they got to start getting 6s out of this. But overall, I don't know how you can complain. You know, give Joe Woods his credit, right? Like, I don't think it's enough to save his job. But for 1 week, to hold that team to 3 points, I know they were without Lamar.
Yeah.
But
That's not an excuse, by the way. They won the last 2 games without Lamar.
But that's what I'm saying.
Every
Like,
team's got injuries.
They're still an NFL team with NFL talent, and I don't care who the quarterback is. You hold them out of the end zone, that's a hell of a job.
Sure.
And I actually thought Perrion Winfrey played well, actually.
He did.
He did?
And if he could, like, grow up a little bit, keep his mouth shut and grow up a little bit, I think he can. I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but we've been screaming about the tackles all year. And I was talking to some guys in the locker room, like, can he play? And they're like, yeah, you know, we don't want to go over the top because we have to see it. But, yeah, there's something there to where I think he could help this team as we talk about they have to remake their defensive tackles. I think there's a spot for him, but he's got to grow up and mature.
Sure.
By the way, I mentioned this in our postgame show. We often criticize Kevin Stefanski and the Browns fairly for it seems like nobody's held accountable. But in Perrion Winfrey's case, he was. Remember, they benched him for a few weeks. They had him inactive because they didn't like, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. But they benched him, and since he's been back, he's played much better.
Yeah, that's a separate issue. We can talk about that more later. But it's not like they took a name player who was also making huge mistakes on the field. They took a guy who's a rookie who was not overperforming. Easy to sit him down.
Yeah, I mean, are other teams benching good starters, proven players that are
Well, I
struggling?
wouldn't even call him a proven player.
No. I'm saying, who is it that you want them to bench? Denzel Ward?
There were times this year where I think you could make a case for sitting down just about everybody on the defense except Myles Garrett. Now,
Right, I mean-
that's off topic, but
Yeah, go ahead.
Bush, give us your thoughts. Like, impressive, not impressive, where are you?
Well, I thought, like Brad said, I just want to see a progression, right? I want to see you get better. I thought there was no throws where your last couple games you could have said, okay, Deshaun Watson missed the guy right there. Or, okay, Deshaun Watson is scrambling around in the pocket when he didn't need to. But this game, I tell you what, like he just hit all the passes that was there available to him. One thing did stand out to me, though. I've been saying it. This is not the offense that you're going to see or hopefully you should be seeing moving forward because they're going to have to upgrade some concepts. Like, you know, some of these concepts that they're running, I'm going to watch the all 22 and look at them, but it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of complicated routes downfield.
He can't go downfield.
Yeah.
No.
He can't go downfield. I mean, and it's not.
It's
not
all
just
underneath
you
stuff.
don't have any playmaker, right?
Right.
So how you gonna loosen up the stuff in the middle if you can't go deep?
I don't think he's ready to go deep either because his ADOT, his average depth of target in the first half,
Like
3.5 yards. 3.5 yards.
Is that by design?
Yes.
I feel that's by design.
Absolutely.
It's Kevin Stefanski putting training wheels on him
Yeah.
to gradually bring him back.
And the
Defensively,
offensive line struggling.
And defensively, they know it. Like,
Yeah.
they're covering the flats. They're playing the
Sure.
flats. Because
Yeah,
they know that's
But
what
he's
they're
still
doing.
having success, which is impressive because they know he's not throwing deep. They know that.
That throw he made to Michael Woods. Remember that throw he threw
Yes.
between somebody's
Yes.
arms?
Yes.
Like that was a special
He
throw.
threw that one. I thought he threw one to Donovan Peoples-Jones, which was a nice throw. But there's going to need – my question is this. What does this offense look like? Because in the offseason, they're going to have to go in and they're going to have to make massive changes.
some surgery.
One of the changes that happens is the offensive line is not conditioned to be like, okay, 5-step drop, 7-step drop. You can tell it's play action. When you run play action, you don't really have any blitzers. It's because the linebackers have to respect the run. So you're not pass blocking for all that great of time. Now when you got to do it in shotgun, you now have to be on it because they know you pass, you know it's pass.
Right.
Who's better? And
But
so,
they got the whole offseason to work on.
yes, they do have the whole
Yeah.
offseason to work on it. I want to see if Kevin Stefanski is going to adapt to it. I want to see some, and plus I need another. I've been saying it.
Weapons.
You need some speed, guys, man. You need, because it just seems like everything the Browns do is in a phone booth. It's like,
Well, they have Anthony Schwartz, but he's proven not to be a factor in the
No,
offense.
they're going to.
So the guy that they drafted to be the speed guy is not the answer. He's not the guy that's going to take the lid off defenses.
I can't count on him.
No.
I can't. And he gets hit, and he's a little fragile. He could be in a protocol.
Yeah, they got to add another receiver.
We got to
this
get another
offseason.
receiver.
No doubt.
But and overall, good.
I made some notes. I think overall, I'm with you. Was it great? No. Was it horrible? No. It was good. I thought Harbaugh, this is one of the worst games I remember him coaching collectively and his staff. Greg Roman, I don't know what in the world he was thinking. It reminded me of some of the Browns being dug in on concepts that weren't working and you knew they weren't working in the moment, but you just kept going to them. Why he would throw the ball 30 times.
With Huntley, it's crazy.
And it was,
And it
cold
was
as hell.
never more than really a one-score game. I mean, it was always a close game.
Yeah, I mean, the last 5-6 minutes, they're down 10.
Okay,
you
got
got
to throw there.
But you know what? Again, their two top backs were averaging 9 yards
Bull.
per carry. I don't know.
They had 200 yards rushing.
I know. Yep.
This Browns defense gets an F on the run defense yesterday, on Saturday.
Yeah.
If you're going to grade them out, it's an F because they were getting gashed on every running play. Yet somehow, Greg Roman, under the direction of John Harbaugh, who could, just like we've always said, the head coach has it's his obligation to step up and say, guys, what the hell are we doing here?
Right.
Why are we throwing the football 30 times when our run game is working for 200 yards?
Right.
So for me, my overarching takeaway was this was the worst coached game in the Browns-Ravens history ever, I think, because he's always done very well coaching these games. I've never seen a Harbaugh coach team look this bad.
He looked perplexed.
And also on the Watson front, we talk about wanting to see progression. We thought he was awful. We graded him between a D and an F in Houston. We thought he was a B- in Cincinnati. I think he was an A- on Saturday. And what's interesting about that is I went and looked up the QBRs.
Yeah.
And the QBRs are exactly what we gave him grade-wise. QBR Houston, 53.
Right.
That's an F. That's what we gave him. We gave him a B- for Cincinnati. Quarterback rating 79.
Right there.
He was a 91 on Saturday.
I still give him a
But
B,
that's
not
at a
an A-
158
for me.
though, Jay.
But a 91 is an A-. What's that?
That's at a 158, not 100.
I know it is. I know it
Yeah.
is. But I'm not grading it out of 100. I'm just saying that even though I'm not doing it like on a regular scale where 90 to 100 is an A on the QBR, I'm grading it on a curve. Like
Yeah, he has
in the
gone up.
NFL, if your quarterback rating is 100, that's an A. Even though I know it's out of 158, like that's a good game. That's a really good game. You're going to win more of those games than you lose.
So you said you give him an A-?
I give him an A-
I
for
give him-
yesterday.
I don't
I'm
go that
curious
high.
because we talked about this in the show, Bull, and I'll let you start with it.
Go
For
ahead.
what we asked him to do, he handled the tasks. You mentioned the run. That was, to me, that was the moment of the 3 games where I've said,
There it is.
okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
There was a play early fourth quarter where he drops back and Baltimore brings pressure, but I think they sent 5. So it was a little pressure, but not a ton. and he read it immediately. Drops back, stops, and takes off, and picks up 17.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's it.
That's what he can.
That's the play.
Yes.
I thought, guys, that you saw him. Maybe it's because he was at home for the first time. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just because it's his third game. His body language was better in the.
Particularly with one drive in the third quarter.
And
It looked like, okay, now we've got a rhythm going.
We need him to be cocky. That's part of his game. He needs to be cocky out there.
To Bull's point, you started to see he's in command now.
Yes.
He started the game is slowing down.
Right.
Starting to see exactly. He knows what to do. He knows how to play.
Collectively,
right?
though.
So now I'm starting to see, okay, I got this guy. I
the numbers, though, collectively.
I give you a piece when he found Njoku on the sideline. He rolled out a little bit.
Yes.
He's like, okay, I'm going to drop it here. I'm going to drop it over here to Cooper. I'm going to drop it here to DPJ. You don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay, I think that's a misleading stat. It has been inaccurate on just 13.6% of his targets. I mean, the accuracy rate is on a complete. To me, it's a completion rate. Now I know that there are drops that factor into that, but some other numbers to put his.
They're saying that's phenomenal. It's the second best in the league. They're saying.
I know they are.
Yeah.
And I thought for the last game, I thought he was more accurate. But even against Cincinnati, he was still throwing the ball, I thought, at guys' feet.
But also, that doesn't account for throws that you miss, like guys open and you miss it.
Yeah.
Right, it doesn't.
So, which plays to not his accuracy, but his overall performance. But I give him a B for this game because I think I don't even think it's so funny because he played better, but that game is not even close to what I'm ultimately expecting.
You can't give him an A when you got one touchdown. You got one touchdown. That's not an A performance.
Here's my problem with it and it's what they're asking him to do, so that's how you got to grade him. But I want to see more downfield throws for sure. What he's doing now is remedial quarterback stuff. Like, he better be better. Like, when you look at his numbers in total, 3 games now, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Right.
Horrible.
Who are you going downfield to?
Completion percentage, 60%. Lowest of his career by far. Now, I know it's a very small sample size and he took 700 days off, but that's nowhere near where we last saw him. When we last saw him, he was completing over 70% of his passes.
But that was on top of his
and he's averaging 185 completion yards in the 3 games.
No, here, 700. You cannot discount the 700 days off. And I would tell you, you say go downfield. Who you going downfield to?
Well, we're not saying 50 yards.
I'm saying 50.
How about 20?
I said,
guys,
Amari Cooper,
let's
David
not make it seem like the Browns don't have good receivers.
Right.
No.
They
have 2 good receivers, and they have a top tight end.
Here. We're not saying that.
Let's
saying that.
Let's quantify what good is.
Right.
Good has nothing to do with skill set. You could be a good receiver, but not have a certain skill set.
Right.
You could be a great shooter from the 3-point line, but be terrible at free throws.
Right.
It's a levels to it. What we're saying is he ain't got, when you look at the level of separation, Donovan Peoples-Jones ain't beating nobody deep. It's the reason he has 1 touchdown. 2 now.
Well, to Jason's point, though, we're not talking 50 yards. How about 20? How about the intermediate routes, which is
I think it's one step at a time.
They have guys more than capable enough to throw the ball 20, 25 yards down.
Yeah.
Well, we saw
and
Brissett
these guys
do
can
it.
get
Brissett completed
Amari
some balls
Cooper and
downfield.
DPJ can get open 20, 25.
Absolutely.
And some of getting open, G, is the scheme.
Yes.
It's not just about beating a guy with speed only.
I said I don't like some of the route combinations.
Yeah.
For me, this is going to be the biggest job Kevin Stefanski has ever had in his life, because he's going to go into next year, right? Right now, what we've seen in 3 games ain't what it is. Like, that's not it. And what I've said before is, what the Browns run, I'm not going to say it is JV, but it is basic as hell. It ain't nothing rub. Let me cross over here, but come back in motion. And you watch the Dolphins play, you're like, dang, what kind of routes is they running?
No flavor.
He's running bootlegs. Don't nobody run no bootlegs no more. Who runs boots? But that was his bread and butter for a whole year and a half. So now he's going to have to stretch his thought process and creativity to say, well, let me see what the best I can do. Sometimes you do great things with people that are medium, but it takes more involvement when you get higher level people.
Yeah, and he has had average to below average quarterbacks,
Yes.
and so he hasn't been
His
able
entire
to be over
career.
the career.
Yeah, so
now he's got the whole offseason
to be cool.
to get it where it should be
From
for next
the
year.
post-game discussions and other interview sessions that you've seen with Stefanski, it's clear there's training that he is rolling out this offense in small bits for Deshaun Watson. At what point, I want to see him take the reins off this year, because this year doesn't matter. I want to see him try things that he's going to be instituting next year. To your point, it's going to look different. These 3 games are trial games. They're experimental games, in my view, because the season's over.
Yeah.
And I'm with you 100%. I wish that it was actually a 0.0 so we could say what it is and just go out there and say, okay, now let's just get funky.
And realistically,
see what we can
I
do.
don't think anybody in the locker room really thinks
Right.
I don't think so, but the fact that there is a chance, it
Well, what's
fools
the
fans.
difference?
Well, it just
You're still trying to win. You want to win the game.
you're trying to win, but what I want is at this point, it's all about getting the offense to where we need it to be next year. I'm looking at these 3 games as preseason games. They mean nothing.
Right.
But I don't want to see him with training wheels on for 6 weeks.
Jay, to your point.
That does nothing.
Jay, to your point, these 3 games are simply this. Let me see what I have.
Exactly.
Right? So that means I throw all caution to the wind, and I'm going to see what I have here, right?
Open it up.
Because I'm in the offseason have to make some decisions here, right? If I'm going to really get better, we know there's certain flaws on this team. They have to be filled. They have to be corrected.
Right.
And then I have to see what this guy that I gave $230 million, what is he capable of? Now, he may not be capable of what he's going to be able to do next August, but
let's get his feet wet.
I got to get going here. Right?
Let's go.
We've had 3 weeks now.
Enough of
with
the
this.
training wheels is my point.
Okay, but I think that they try to be aggressive in week 1, and you saw how that went. So now
Yeah,
they pulled it out, and now we've seen a progression. And here's one small thing, but we don't see the extra offensive lineman as an eligible receiver. You know, they're moving away from the jumbo stuff.
that's
like
true.
it's small, but it's actually really significant because how many times did you hear 68's an eligible receiver, 68's an eligible
God.
You know,
because
tight
they
end sets.
needed that.
Dunn was getting
And-
6 snaps a game.
and they're getting away from
Hey,
that.
Jay, you know what I was really looking forward to this year? At some point seeing Watson, Chubb, and Hunt.
I don't know.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I don't know
guess
if you're gonna see
I
that.
guess I'm not going to see it.
No, you're not.
I'm not going to see
And
it.
also, another thing you got to keep in mind in all this is the protection. And we've said the protection just isn't the same this year. And so you certainly don't want to expose him to an unnecessary
you're right, right.
risk.
You're right.
At this point, when we're all said it's
Right.
all about next year, we've talked about it. Jack Conklin's probably not going to be back. I think Teller's still fighting the calf. He hasn't looked the same. And you know, Jed Wills, it is what it is over there. So they've got some decisions to make along the offensive line, but that can't come until the offseason. I'm not saying you can't do anything, but you have to be careful about how you protect
I'm
it.
going to throw a slider to you. Here's a slider coming your way. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Do you shut him down at some point?
No.
Who?
Absolutely
Watson?
not. Absolutely not.
2 games left, 1 game left.
No.
You shut him down?
No.
Well, the lot here, and I say this from this
You
standpoint.
can't think about injury.
Well,
you can't.
See, but he just brought that up.
But
I know.
He just brought that up.
It does factor in the equation.
right, you
But
can't.
he
you
needs
can't
reps
shut
more than
him
they have to
down
fear
because
injury.
You fear injury, but you have to be smart in how you protect
Let
it.
me tell
Yeah.
you this. The only reason, I'm going to be honest with you, I was down there doing the pregame, and the only reason them people is in that stadium is because of Deshaun
Right, you want to
Watson.
see what
That is it. There is no reason they're there. They've been very vocal about it.
We're gonna see that this Saturday too.
Saturday's crowd's gonna
single
be
digits
thin.
and wind near 50 miles an hour. It's gonna be who shows
Wind
up to see
chill's going to
Watson
be
play.
below 0.
I'm actually going to take my son to his first game. I'm not covering.
I'm
it.
going
good
as
luck,
well.
man.
I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Good luck, my
Yeah,
friend.
I'm going to take him.
I'll be staying nice
Call
and
me.
warm.
He's a dirty
Call me.
dude.
Let me know if
Dirty
it's
for
chilly.
But no, he's never
Hey,
been.
Jay,
He's
It's
12.
it's a great way to indoctrinate him to
Right.
play football.
Yeah.
Earn the right.
Yeah, you're
I've
right.
never had the chance to take him because I'm always covering these.
Earn the
these
right.
things.
I tell Jason to call me. Let me know if it's chilly down there.
Oh,
By the way, we had a conversation before the season, and you think about it now how dumb this was. I don't know if any of us said this, but there was a conversation generally about would the Browns be better off if Deshaun Watson missed the whole season so the contract would toll? That would have been a disaster had that
That would've
happened
been a disaster.
because he needed to play these 6 games to be in game action. That is going to help. Can you imagine
Well,
if he had missed
yeah,
the whole
but
season?
Bull, there's still going to be 8 months between meaningful snaps.
Yeah, but at
So
least
he's going to
he
go back
played-
into mothballs.
But it's
Let's-
going to be
let's
a
ask Tim
normal
Couch- let's ask
offseason
Tim
for
Couch
him.
what he
Yeah,
thinks
Tim,
about
what do
possibly
you
that.
think about that? Because it is an interesting point. Yeah, there were 700 days between snaps, and he's going to get 6 games here, but he's going to shut it down in 3 weeks, and he's not going to take another meaningful
that's
snap
normal, Jay.
for another 8 months or 9 months.
Yeah, I think you get him all the reps you can get. A guy hadn't played in over 700 days. He needs game reps. So yeah, it's going to be a long off season. But like you said, all the other quarterbacks are going to have a long off season as well. So Deshaun is all about reps. He's in a new system. He's in a new on a new team, I would get him all the reps he could possibly get, these last 3 games and get him prepared going into next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, right? I mean, if Tim, as bad, as rusty as he's looked in these games, especially the first 2, if he had missed the entire rest of this season, let's say they suspended him for the whole year, by next September, it probably would have been even. It could have been even. It might have been 5-6 weeks, and then next year's down the tubes too.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're talking about just off-season reps, and you're talking about preseason reps, and we know, those aren't really very, very valuable. I think, the only way to simulate getting, these game speed reps is to be in there in the game action, going against live blitzes, pressures, working against the play clock, getting the plays called in the huddle, getting to the line of scrimmage, audibling, whatever it needs to be done. You can really only get those in live game action. So, I'm with you on that. Deshaun, in my opinion, needs all the reps he can get in these last 3 games.
Tim, I'm going to ask you this question. See, when you came up, I even remember playing the NCAA college football game, right? And Kentucky was the only school that had 5 wide. I'm like, who's this number 2 cat back here? And then there's this dude named Yeast. I don't know what happened to him, but his speed was faster than everybody's. So I'm going to ask you this question on this premise. When you see what Stefanski's running now, how complicated is it? Like, if you was a quarterback, could you be like, this is compared to some of the other teams you may watch and some of the concepts, how complicated is it?
To me, it doesn't look very complicated. I think maybe that's because of the quarterback situation this year. You're playing with Jacoby Brissett and you're kind of watering the playbook down a little bit. You're really just, it's pretty basic. You're running a little play action. You're trying to get rid of the football. It's not very complex as far as, a lot of motions and shifts and formations and personnel groupings, all those kind of things. And then, you got Deshaun, who hadn't played in 700 days, and he's in a brand new system. So you're just kind of working these quarterbacks through it this year. Hopefully next year we'll see him expand on it, but it doesn't seem super complicated just from what I see on the outside. That's kind of hard to tell when you just watch it on the TV copy. I'm not in the meeting rooms, I'm not watching the all 22 and really breaking down what they're doing, but just watching it as a casual fan on TV, it doesn't look super complicated to me.
So Tim, you're a savant of this game. You know it from an angle that none of us will ever know it from. So after seeing 3 games here, you see the progression of Watson. What would you, if you were Watson, and you have to go talk to your head coach, your offensive coordinator, what would you like to see? What would you be asking for if that was you? Because you have a feel of it now.
Yeah, you got the feel of it. I think you're going in there and communicating with them. I'm starting to feel more comfortable in this offense. Let's add more stuff. Let's ramp it up. Let me start being who I am as a football player. Let's start taking these more shots down the field. Maybe using my legs a little bit more. Just kind of expanding on the offense a little bit. Just letting them know that I'm starting to feel more comfortable with these situations, and the game speed is kind of slowing down for me a little bit. So I'm starting to ease back in and feel like myself again. So I think the coaches need to hear that, and once they they hear it from Deshaun, they see the results out on the field, then they can they feel more comfortable going into those meeting rooms, coming up with different game plans, and kind of expanding and on Deshaun's role, and allowing him to do what he's capable of doing.
Tim, it sounds simple, but how do you score more touchdowns now if you're Deshaun? Because I said it's hard for me to grade him an A when the offense is only scoring 1 touchdown a game.
Yeah, it's tough. I think it's hard to say how you get the ball in the end zone. You got a lot of weapons out there on offense. You got those great running backs. Cooper's having a good year. Peoples-Jones is having a good year, and Njoku's having a good year. You expect these guys to be putting the ball in the end zone a little bit more. They were scoring quite a bit with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby had it rolling there, for a while. I thought he was playing some really good football. But I think, it goes back to what we talked about with Deshaun. He's just, easing his way back into this thing. It's not easy, man, to take that.
Oh, no, we lost Tim.
Not sure where Tim went, so we'll
try to
get him back.
Settle in and get going.
Back. Tim, we lost you there for a second. Apologize.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
There's Tim.
Tim, from a defensive standpoint, and I don't know if we have him or if we've lost him again.
My back?
Yeah, there you are. From a defensive standpoint, my fear here is that we're almost looking at a redo of last year. There were so many issues with this defense, so many blown coverages, miscommunication, guys not knowing where they were. Injuries also a big part of it. But the last couple of games, they've started to resemble that second half defense that we saw from 2021 that quite frankly saved Joe Woods' job. And now as we start looking at the totality of the season, if that trend continues, and let's face it, they're not playing any world beater quarterbacks from here on out. If that trend continues, Kevin Stefanski's in a really difficult spot because it was easy to make a decision that this guy's got to go if you're looking at the first 10 games.
I still think it's easy.
There are those that are already making the case.
No.
I've heard it. That are already making the case saying, okay, it's together now. The fact of the matter is it can't take 8 or 10 weeks to get it together. I think this is the most critical decision this franchise has to make in the offseason. Where are you leaning right now on Joe Woods?
Yeah, I would agree with that, Jay. You know, you go back and look early in the season and where the Browns are now, kind of in the hunt for a wild card berth in those games that they lost. You know, Jay, I remember when they lost that game to the Jets, you said, imagine how bad this is going to suck when the Browns are in contention for a playoff spot and they're missing that one win. And they totally blew it, and that's the defense's fault. You know, especially, you know, a few of those games early in the season, the offense played well enough to win games, man. And the defense really did let them down. Blown coverages, communication issues in the secondary. So I'm probably leaning towards, you know, if I had to, maybe, you know, looking at making a change. But, you know, it's at the same time, they have played really well the last few weeks. You know, you're talking about holding the team to 3 points on Saturday, getting a win. I thought they did a nice job against, the previous few weeks as well, kind of getting things going. You know, you're seeing better tackling, better communication on the back end. You know, those kind of things. So it's tough right now. You know, like you said, it's going to be a very big decision going into the offseason. And, you know, you kind of got a mixed bag of results there to go off of. So it'll be a tough decision for Stefanski in that front office.
Yeah, to me, it can't be a tough decision at all.
You're moving on.
The defense, they haven't given up a ton of points. But outside of Burrow, they have faced no good quarterbacks. They're not going to face any good quarterbacks.
Bull, can I
Their
read
run
the list for
defense
you
is
real quick?
atrocious. I got to move on.
Can I read the list for you real quick?
Yeah,
of
it's a who's who of backups and guys
to
playing
end the
out
season,
the string.
this secondary stretch, and Bull, then continue your point. They've played a 45-year-old Tom Brady in a prehistoric offense, Kyle Allen, Joe Burrow, Tyler Huntley, Andy Dalton, Tyler Heineke, and then some combination of Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, or Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, what are we going to learn from that?
No.
Right.
And the defense, it's not like the run defense has gotten any better. It still stinks. They're the worst defense in the league on first down, which is the most predictable down. There's no adjustments made. I'm not being a homer here, but look at the Bengals DC, Lou Anarumo, who came out of nowhere.
Oh, man, what a job he's done.
The Bengals make adjustments every game. The Bengals yesterday were down 17-0. Their top 2 pass rushers were out. Their top 3 corners were out, and they completely turned the game around because of the defense.
You know how Joe Woods saves his job, or how if you're Kevin Stefanski, how you justify it? This is the only way. Joe Woods tells him, I don't have NFL caliber defensive tackles. What do you expect from me?
Man,
If you fix the middle of that line, you fix a lot. Now listen, I think he's gone because he's lost the locker room, he's lost the trust of the players. I've said that for a month.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'll say in his defense, he doesn't have NFL talent in the middle of the line.
Bengals had practice squad corners going up against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in the second half, and those guys did nothing. I don't want to hear it.
Well,
Joe Woods has got to be fired.
In fairness,
Yeah.
the Bucs were their own worst enemy. They have a fake punt on, and the guy who's supposed to carry it out, Bernard, didn't know that the fake was on.
Agreed.
Turnover. They had a fluky fumble on a handoff transition, fumble. Brady threw 2 picks, one of which I wasn't even sure it was still a pick. I mean, the
was definitely a pick.
The Buccaneers just gift-wrapped it. They gift-wrapped in the game.
But 2 of those turnovers were forced.
All right, who cares about the Bucs and Bengals?
So it's the point that you adjusted.
Okay,
and Joe Woods doesn't
listen,
adjust.
I think Joe's getting fired. I've said that for
There's
weeks.
no argument for
He's
keeping Joe
lost
Woods.
the locker room.
Yeah.
But if I'm Joe Woods, I'm going, you did not give me NFL talent.
But you said
And that's
hold
fair on his behalf.
Jay, he said one thing. He said he lost the locker room. Did he lose Stefanski?
Go ahead, G. Bush.
Did he lose Stefanski?
We'll find out.
No excuse for keeping Joe Woods.
I'll just say this. My retort as Kevin Stefanski, Mr. Woods, you had somebody on your staff tell me and tell the world that you had your second and third best receivers and a tight end out against the Cincinnati Bengals. And he told the world that it was hard.
That's a bad look.
To adjust.
That was really bad.
That's right. You're gone. Goodbye.
Good day, sir.
I'm firing the whole
Did
defensive
you
staff.
not read the fine print? The everlasting gobstopper was taken. You touched the ceiling. The ceiling cost thousands to make. Do you have any idea how much this is?
Tim, I actually think this entire staff could look different next year because I think offensively there's going to be changes. I think some guys can be cherry-picked from other staff. Some guys may leave on their own accord. I just think both sides of this ball, how difficult is that for a head coach to – I think it's very realistic that there's going to be multiple openings on both sides of the ball. How difficult is that for a head coach to now revamp his entire staff? Or is that sort of status quo now in the NFL?
I think it's pretty standard, in today's NFL. There's so much turnover each year. A lot of these guys move on to other jobs and things. So you're always replacing guys or going out trying to upgrade certain areas of your team. So I think these coaches are probably used to it. I think it's pretty different than, what it used to be back in the day where coaches were there for a while. And, it was pretty, it wasn't as common as it is now for coaches to leave and get fired and those kind of things. So I think they're probably used to it, but there will be some changes on both sides of the ball. I assume, there's some areas of concern on both sides, certainly. And, surely they'll address those in the offseason.
I'm telling you right now, boys, there's going to be changes offensively
There better
as well.
be.
Well, there should be.
No, offensively.
So what
there's going to be.
like
And I'm
what?
okay with that. I think there should be.
He gonna give up play caller?
No, I don't think he's giving up play calling, but I think listen, they've done a great job offensively this year in terms of other coaches are going to look at these guys now and say, I want that guy on my staff.
Well,
I think you're going to see guys leaving this staff for promotions on other teams. I think we keep talking about defensively.
Who besides Callahan would get promoted?
On the offensive side,
Yeah.
I mean, Drew Petzing, the quarterback's coach, I think is gone next year. I think he could take a job as a coordinator somewhere else. Let's wait and see what happens with Alex Van Pelt. Alex Van Pelt may get a
If
better
I'm Alex
offer
Van
somewhere.
Pelt, I want to leave. I don't want to be an offensive coordinator and I'm not calling plays. I don't.
And that's what we have spent so much time on the show talking about rebuilding the defensive side of the ball. I'm telling you right now, I think there's going to be a lot of changes on the
Tim,
offensive side as well.
compare Brissett to Watson, and I know obviously Watson's only had the 3 games, but there's no denying that the production of this offense has taken a step back. It's down in points, in yards, completion percentage, just about every measurable metric. How do they stack up in your mind right now?
Well, I think Jacoby had a heck of a season. He really did. There's no denying that. I think he exceeded all expectations that everyone had from him coming into the season. And, he played really good football. And, he had this offense going. Like we talked about earlier, he was putting points on the board. He was making plays. He was taking care of the ball, especially those last few games. He looked really good. Then with Deshaun, it's just kind of a work in progress with Deshaun. I think obviously – ultimately, Deshaun is on another level as far as a quarterback goes. Once he's in his rhythm and playing and back to his normal self, it's just going to take some time for Deshaun to get where he wants to be and get back to the player that he was that we saw in Houston. So, I think Deshaun is the right guy. He's obviously the long-term answer, and he's the future of this franchise. So, but it's you can't just walk back out on an NFL field and say I'm back after 700 days. It's a work in progress, and there's going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some rust that you got to work through. But the good thing is with Deshaun, we've seen improvement each week he's been out on the field, and hopefully, we can see that over the next 3 weeks, and then we feel good about going into the offseason where he has a full offseason of training, getting all the reps and OTAs and mini camps and training camp and a full preseason, and then you feel pretty good about Deshaun going into next season.
Well, Stefanski is now 26-22 if you count his playoff victory. And there's nothing to write home about. It's above 500. But sadly, Tim, it makes him the most winning coach, the winningest coach in the Browns' rebirth history, going back to 1999. I think that speaks volumes for where this franchise has been over the last 30-plus years. But there has been some discussion about, is Stefanski the guy to move this franchise forward? Have you seen anything that would lead you to think that it's in the best interest of this organization to make a change all the way at the top?
No, I don't think so. I think you stick with Stefanski one more year. I think, he's always got that, I didn't have Deshaun Watson this year. What they want to see what Kevin Stefanski can do with a full season of Deshaun Watson. And I think that's probably fair. I think, that's why they brought Deshaun in, to match him with this coach and this system. They feel like it's going to be a really good fit. So I haven't seen anything, that I would say it's time to move on at the head coaching position. I think he, deserves another year. This year has been really tough, and I think he's done well, on offense for what he's had to deal with, all these, with his quarterback situation and everything like that. You got to probably go in the offseason, you're thinking upgrade the wide receiver position, get some more explosive players in here, and a Deshaun Watson that's hopefully hitting on all cylinders, and this offense could look completely different next season.
I have one non-Browns for you. Could we have a moment of silence for Matt Ryan? Poor Matt Ryan, who's now blowing the biggest lead in Super Bowl history and in the regular season. Have you been in avalanches like that where you just can't get out? It's just coming down on you and you can't get out from under it? And what can you do as a quarterback to try and stem the tide when it's rolling like that against you?
Man, that was tough to watch. And, you know, I haven't been in a game where it was that lopsided and had a team come back, you know. That's just hard. Like, as a quarterback, you're trying to hold it together and, you know, trying to make some plays. And then it seems like, you know, a turnover here or there, and they keep making, you know, this comeback. And there's really nothing you can do once a team gets all that momentum and gets rolling on you like that. But it was an epic meltdown, man. I watched that game. You know, you're 33-0 at halftime. You're thinking, you know, there's no way they get back in this thing. Maybe they make it, you know, interesting in the second half, but it's not going to really be, you know, where they can come back and fully make a comeback and win this game. And then those plays just kept happening over and over. And like, man, you just kind of felt it, you know, going in probably about midway through the third, going into the fourth quarter. You're like, I think they're going to make a comeback here. You know, you just kind of felt that it was going to happen, felt that momentum really switching to the other side. And it was an unbelievable game to watch, man. And, you know, I guess that's Kirk Cousins, second time he's been on one of those lopsided comebacks. And I guess he did that when he was in Washington as well. So, and it was a fun game to watch as a fan, but it had to be just absolutely brutal for Colts fans and Matt Ryan.
You talk about the momentum. It was, at some point, it felt like everybody on the planet, except for those wearing Colts gear, wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
The officials, all the breaks. There were 2 4th and inches that I don't know. I thought one of them, Ryan, had the yard to gain. And if either one of those are first downs, the game's over. The comeback cannot happen.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about this, but it was like every single bounce of the ball, every little inch that had to be given, everything. Even the announcers were just, you could hear it in their voices. They wanted to be part of history. And now they are.
How we liking that Jeff Saturday free pass to the front of the line now?
I like it still. I still like it. I do.
You still like it?
They're a better team now than they were before the season, before he took over.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
They're 1-4.
They are. And they beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
That is factually
And they lost
incorrect.
3 games by 1 score. And
They didn't
all
beat
3
the
of those
Eagles.
games.
They didn't beat the Eagles. They beat the Raiders.
Oh, I'm sorry. They beat the Raiders. They should have beaten the Eagles. That was another one.
There's
where
100 games each year where you can say the other team should have won.
the Eagles have lost how many games this year?
1.
Okay.
They didn't lose
When
to the
I
Colts.
watched the Colts game, it was one of those games. I watched the whole game. It was one of those games where I'm like, the Colts are just playing better. They're not the better team, but they were playing better. And at the end of the game, when they had a 4th and long, they converted on it, and they did what they needed to do to win the game. But when I saw that game, I just said he's getting more out of his guys than they were before.
Well, he got him a 33-point choke. I don't know what to tell you.
You did. And that will
That's
always
it.
be on his resume. But
Yeah.
I don't know that Jeff wants the job. I've talked to a couple of mutual friends. I'm not sure he wants to do this moving forward past this year. I know it was something that he wanted to try,
I was gonna say, why
and he's
do it
glad
then?
he did. But from what I'm hearing, it was more of an understanding on his part. I'm going to get you to the end of the year, and I'm not the guy for this job long term. He can go back to ESPN and resume his cushy life at the click of a finger, and I think that's what he wanted to do from jump. And
Thanks.
he may end up doing that. I'm not sure.
Thanks, Tim.
Tim, great stuff, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
Happy holidays.
Appreciate it.
Have a great Christmas, and we'll talk to you soon.
Real quick, before we
Thank
let
you. You
Tim
guys too. Merry Christmas.
Oh, hold on, Tim. McNuggets has
Tim,
something
I got
for
one
you.
more thing. You beat me in fantasy this week, securing my spot to do stand-up comedy, so I did come in last place. So thank you, Tim, for not setting me up at all this entire season. Still beating
Tim
me.
was prepared to do it.
Yeah.
Tim was going to do the comedy stand-up, but now he doesn't have to.
Man, that would have been
Doesn't
brutal. I'd be horrible as a stand-up.
I don't know if I'd be any better.
Mike's not
And
gonna
also,
be any
Tim,
better.
we appreciate you for sending some signed memorabilia up to UCSS Studios. We're going to give those away. All you got to do is head to WKYC.com/contest to enter. You can win some free swag from Tim, Leroy, and DeQuell. It's all in the perfect Browns holiday gift package. You have to be a subscribed person to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So you have to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can enter on WKYC.com/contest.
Anybody that's subscribed is automatically entered, or you still have to go?
You have to enter, but you
Okay.
can't enter unless you
Unless
also
you're
subscribe.
subscribed.
So
Okay.
make sure you do that, and it comes in. We're picking a winner on the 26th.
Speaking of swag, you have a gift outside the studio door.
Oh, that might be the stuff Tim actually sent.
No.
By the way,
Betsy Kling had you in the Secret Santa. So.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, well, then I'm going to give you my secret. Tim, this has nothing to do with you. Thank you. Tim, you're the best. We
Tim,
appreciate
thanks,
you.
brother.
I don't know who my Secret Santa person is upstairs, so I'm
Yeah.
going to give it to you, Jay, and you can figure out who to give it to.
No, I'm not a delivery man.
By the way, I'm giving
Why do I
away.
gotta be the middleman?
I'm giving away the Baker
I don't know who it
Mayfield Panthers jersey I have. So send me a tweet with the reason you should be the person I send it to. I'm going to make a decision by tomorrow morning.
And
that might be worth a lot more after tonight.
And more importantly, I will tell you this.
What?
We got a $50 super chat. Rick George in the building says, not Browns, but the Munich game, Tampa Bay versus Bengals. The crowd was amazing. And then he just dropped in on us and was like, all right, give me another one. Rick George dropped another $10 super chat. I noticed Kevin Stefanski ran Chubb and Watson under center more. Worried is a tell. Hate seeing Chubb in the shotgun RPO. And I will give you that. The Chubb
That was noticeable.
That very noticeable.
Yeah.
Good catch
Yeah.
by you, Rick. We've been talking about that a couple weeks now.
And G. Bush throwing the curveball, reading some internet comments. And whenever we read internet comments, we might as well get the PCC read in right now because I love synergy and G. Bush. Good assist. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, Minerva are hiring for positions starting $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a sign-in bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. G, good assist.
By the way, guys, of the 20, so Kevin Stefanski has a winning record in the regular season, of course. Of the 23 Browns coaches in their history, that have, not including interim coaches, of the 23 Browns coaches that have coached at least one full season, including Kevin Stefanski, how many of those 23 have a winning record?
Since '99?
No, forever.
Oh, I'd say 4.
G?
I don't understand the question.
We're dropping by.
The Browns have had 23 head coaches that have
Okay.
coached at least 1 year.
Okay.
Ever.
So Greg Williams does not count.
Greg Williams,
because he had a winning record.
Interims don't count.
Right.
Of those 23, how many have a career winning record as head coach of the Browns?
Okay.
Jay said 4.
I'd cut that back to
3.
2?
I'm going to give him 2 also.
2?
Yeah. I think Marty barely had a
Marty?
full record.
Sam?
No, I don't think any of the others did.
Paul Brown and Kevin Stefanski.
Well, you know Stefanski, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say 3 or 4, 3.
there's actually 5.
Who are they?
Paul Brown
Yep.
was
Right.
110 games over 500.
Jeez.
Blanton Collier,
Oh, yeah,
what a
Blanton
great
Collier.
record too,
Yeah.
back in the day. Marty Schottenheimer, 17 games over 500. Nick Skorich,
Yeah.
Don't even
Never
remember
would
6
have
games
guessed that
over
one.
500.
Don't know who he
And
is.
Stefanski. Sam Ratigliano was 47 and 50.
What was Bud Carson?
But
Probably
Carson,
close to 500
11,
too.
13 and 1.
Yeah, I was going to say close to 500. He had a great season and an awful season.
Yep. So there you go.
Yeah, and there you have it. There's the
Belichick
Cleveland Browns
36 and
history in the
44 for the
nutshell.
Browns. Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
But fire Stefanski. He's terrible.
Yeah.
In fairness, Kevin Stefanski's had more talent than most of these other
He's
coaches.
had a bad year. Kevin's had a bad year.
And he's had a bad year. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, you can do the same thing with quarterbacks, and Baker was one of the few quarterbacks that had a 500 record, and he got run. But I mean, when
was
you start
time.
looking at quarterbacks that had 500 records, it's going to be very similar. It's slim pickings out there.
I think it was a. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. It was a.
Look.
It was a perfect storm of events.
Are you rolling a grenade in that?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Like
Okay.
last winter was a very odd sequence of events that a lot of franchise quarterbacks had the potential of becoming available. That's why the Baker thing became what it was.
Sure.
If Russ Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson were not coming available, we would have had all the conversations that we had. And ownership probably wouldn't have made the decision that they had. They would have just stuck with Baker because
Baker did have a losing record with the Browns, but 29 and 30.
there was no better option. It was just a perfect storm of events
Yeah.
that led to where we are today.
Well, thankfully,
Boy, as it turned out, those available quarterbacks, like Rodgers has turned the page. And
Russell Wilson's
clearly,
disaster.
Russ, did you see what the Denver Broncos did yesterday without Russ? And Russ was healthy. Russ could have played yesterday. And they made the decision not to play him.
The question.
That's a problem.
When you're
That's
making money,
crazy.
that's a big
Because the
problem.
extension hasn't even kicked in.
No, he was cleared.
What a disaster if
They
the
just
Browns
said-
traded
Russell.
for Russell Wilson.
No, not a problem for
It's
Russell.
not a-
He
it's
can
not
put
a-
12 more bathrooms in that
It's
house.
not a problem. It's not a problem for Russell.
Now, I hate to do this.
Go ahead.
Grenade has been rolled. If Baker would have just said, you know what, let me just get this surgery and shut it down last year. He come back this year.
Well, thankfully that didn't happen.
Would the Browns be in a better or worse position?
Oh, worse. They'd be in a worse position.
If he shut it down, so 2 games in, has the surgery.
If he shuts it down after the Texans game
Yep.
last year, right? Was it? No. Second game of the year. Who'd they play? Where he originally hurt the shoulder.
Yeah,
it
it's
wasn't
Cardinals,
Houston.
right?
No,
Well, it was
Cardinals
Houston.
was the re-injury. It was the
Houston.
Texans.
It was
He's
Houston.
Yeah.
If he shuts it down after that, Baker's a quarterback today of the Browns.
And would they have a better record now, or when they had Baker?
Oh gosh, I think that they would probably be about the same, but I think their future is much brighter with Deshaun.
Oh my God, not even close.
Yeah, what's funny is I had a buddy he hates the Browns, but he's fairly objective on most things, and he texted me yesterday. He covers the NFL, and I said, "Come on, 3 games. We're going to make that. You're making that snap judgment in 3 games." But what he said was, and he said, "Save this text for posterity." Deshaun Watson has definitively played the best football he'll ever play. Definitively. It wasn't like maybe. He goes, everybody in Cleveland is projecting him to put the numbers up that he put up 3 years ago. And he says, I'm just telling you with my eyes, he has played his best football, and that's a definitive statement. And we can relitigate this 2 years down the road when it's come.
I don't
and
think
that's
How much
something that
coke had he done before that?
no,
Let me tell you.
Bull, very knowledgeable.
I don't
There are
I don't
teams
think
around
that-
the NFL who believe exactly that. That Deshaun
Yeah.
played his best football.
Well, here.
I'm not
There's
an
a myriad
NFL
of
talent
reasons.
evaluator.
Let me tell you what sports is.
I'm not an
Sports
NFL
is-
talent evaluator. I'm just telling you there are teams who believe he played his
sports
best
is
football.
about
in Houston.
evaluation, and when people put money on people, you're betting a hunch, right? I don't think you've seen the best football that he's going to play.
Let's
here in
hope
Cleveland.
not, because the Browns
I
certainly.
don't subscribe to that at all.
I don't either.
At all.
Yeah.
I don't either. I'm just telling you, there are
Jason,
teams.
Give me the examples of 27-year-old quarterbacks
I
that
agree with
played
you.
at an all-pro level that all of a sudden stink.
I agree with you.
When does that happen?
I'm just telling you,
Unless
I'm not an
it's- unless
NFL
it's
talent
injury.
evaluator. I'm just telling you, there were teams around
Well,
the league.
by
who
the way,
felt
the
like he
injury
played
was
his
part
best
of this
ball.
argument. The injury was
knee?
part of this discussion.
The knee?
The knee.
Yeah.
Because RG3 was I think to me, even though RG3 had more team success, but it was short. It was he burned hot and bright.
Yep.
But the injury for him was after he came back, he clearly couldn't do what allowed him to do everything else.
Correct.
And are we seeing that with Lamar Jackson right now? I don't know. I don't know that we are. There are people that think that we definitely are.
Yeah.
I don't
but
think,
on the
but
Deshaun
Robert
Watson
Griffin
front,
isn't anywhere close to the player that Deshaun Watson was.
we forgot how
As
good
a
Robert
rookie,
Griffin
he was electrifying.
You need to go back and you need to, and in fact, you need to almost watch him. His numbers are one thing. He was doing things that prior to Michael Vick, we hadn't seen
He had
anybody
the
do.
league on. Was it his rookie year?
His
He had the
rookie
league on
year,
fire.
he absolutely was lighting it up with his arm and his leg.
No, not with his arm. He
And-
averaged about
no.
200 yards a game.
He was making throws that
He was the talk of the league.
He was the talk of the
regardless
league.
I
of what the
understand
numbers
that,
say.
guys.
I remember he took a beating for doing it at the time, and he should have because at the way it turned out, especially now we have the benefit of the results. But I remember Ron Jaworski, who is an excellent judge of talent. Ron Jaworski said, he did preface it with the injuries, but he said, if this guy stays healthy and this skill set carries into his 30s, he's going to be an all-time great.
I thought he said that about
Just-
Kaepernick.
But
No, he said that about RG3
Here's
too.
the
He loved
bottom line.
Kaepernick as well.
Here's the bottom
Kaepernick
line.
was another one. Not that he was ever a superior quarterback, but he had some time.
Here's the bottom line. RG3's best year was his rookie year. He sucked after that.
Well-
right? His best year was worse than the 3 Deshaun Watson years.
He was never the same after the injury.
He was never the same after
He
the
had
injury.
one
So-
good year.
And by the way, that has a lot to do with it. The injuries.
Yeah.
You can't he's had it twice.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
RG3 relied on his legs. He was a run quarterback.
What I said-
Deshaun
Deshaun's a
Watson
better
is-
passer than
is a
RG3.
million times
Yes.
better. It's
Yes,
not even
That's
close.
fair. And, when the story I wrote, I reported 13 teams were interested in Deshaun Watson.
Of course.
So half the league wanted this guy.
Guys.
I'm just saying there were teams
Fine.
that felt like
and maybe that
exactly
will
that
happen,
point
but
that was
there's
made.
no precedence for it. RG3 is a bad comparison. He had 1 year and he ran. He threw
RG3.
he
I-
threw
to-
like
to-
220
yards
touchdowns.
20 years ago is different
To
than 200
Bull's
yards
point,
today.
there's nobody. The odds are in Deshaun Watson's favor. There's no 27-year-old dropping off the face of the earth with
For
a
no
high
reason.
with a high talent
Now, I
level,
will say this.
without a significant injury.
Well, I will say this. If you talk about falling off the face of the planet, that could be statistically. I still worry to this day, are you going to put him in the position to do what he does?
Well-
when when he had that year, he threw for all them yards. Look at the speed guys. Randall Cobb, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks. these guys are getting downfield.
don't
They're
have
averaging
that.
almost.
The talent around him was nothing.
Hold on.
Those guys were shot. Randall Cobb was shot by that point.
They're averaging 17 yards a catch.
Cooks was in
Because
his prime,
they threw the
too.
ball down the field.
Because they're faster than everybody.
Okay, so you'll get a fast receiver.
Well, here's the thing. They
Just
got
being fast is not
no,
enough.
They got. Here's what I'm saying.
Ask
to you.
Anthony Schwartz.
Here's what I'm saying. You have to put these guys.
Amari Cooper's better than any of those
If
guys.
you want the numbers, you got to look at what a guy does
I
best.
hear you, but you're judging it based on their talent now. They got this offseason.
I'm not saying,
and they got good talent.
I'm not going to say they're going to fall off a cliff, but what I'm
Yeah.
going to say is Andrew Berry ain't did no A+ be going to get nobody. You name me somebody A+ where Berry had. He hasn't done a good job, and I haven't seen them get primetime receivers, big numbers.
What you say? He hadn't pulled off. He hadn't come up. He doesn't come across as a shrewd guy.
No, he ain't got.
shrewd.
What dude? He done got you that you was like, oh man. And we talk about developing too. Like you developed Donovan Peoples-Jones. You hoping you could develop Perrion Winfrey, but these linebackers zeros. A lot of the dudes you picked up. This is a pivotal year. If they want him to get to where they go, Andrew Berry is going to have to use the draft. He's going to have to use free agency, and he's going to have to pull off some trades too.
True.
Well, and the problem with that is too, using the draft. Your big currency in the draft you don't have.
You don't
have those difference-making picks.
No.
Can you hit on the second and third
Sure.
rounders? You absolutely can. But his track record right now is that he hasn't.
That's why you got to have them gym rats. Them gym rats are getting in the cracks and crevices and find people and know how to swing deals. Kobe Altman does a good job swinging deals. Andrew Berry.
The Guardians do a great job. They are Hall of Famers in
Did
swinging
get Deshaun
deals.
Watson. I mean, credit.
But to
Yeah, they traded for Deshaun
no,
Watson.
Here, but we're talking about now. You got a guy. You got to surround the guy with other guys that make
Sure.
him pop.
Well,
Right?
one player.
We don't have that.
You know what Deshaun Watson will equal? 4,800 yards and 4 wins. If you don't surround him with the pieces he needs.
And they already have a far superior team
And
than what
here's
Texas has.
something I said last week that I absolutely believe. You get better at your job the longer you're in it.
Yeah.
And Andrew Berry was really young. He was the youngest GM in the league when he was put in this job.
13
You're
years
going to
old.
make mistakes.
Yeah.
But if you go back and look at this last draft, it's still an incomplete to me, but Martin Emerson looks like a home run.
Third
he is
round
an
pick.
absolute
Third
home run.
round.
That might
Third
be his
round
best.
pick.
That's the best draft pick
It
I
might
think that
be.
they've made.
And I'll tell you
Donovan
what,
Peoples-Jones in the 6th round.
I believe Alex Wright can play in this league. I think he's going to be a player for a long time.
You do?
Another third-round pick. I like him. David Bell, the jury's still out, obviously. He hasn't really
See,
contributed.
I'm going to say David Bell. The jury isn't out.
Well,
he has
he's a
200. He
mid-round-
has under 200 yards receiving.
He's a mid-round. He was 99 overall. Third-round pick rookie. I thought he'd make more of an impact over the second half
I
of
did
the
too.
season.
I had way bigger
over the
hopes for
second
him.
half. Over here, the second half of the season. You don't expect much. I don't. Of
It's
a
a
third
mixed
rounder.
bag, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of mixed
it's
bags.
fewer
But
than 200 receiving
He's
yards.
a rookie, and I'm not going to call him a bust
Okay,
by any means.
okay.
Jerome Ford, we'll find out next year what you have. Mike Woods has contributed as a 6th-rounder.
Cade York's been a big disappointment.
Cade York,
has been a
according to Bull,
disappointment.
is a failure.
Cade York's
No,
been
I'm not
a
saying he's a
disappointment.
failure yet, but he's been a
Oh,
big
I thought
disappointment.
you had him as a failure.
It's been a
No,
disappointment.
but he's got to get it together. I mean,
Let's
he's
talk
having
about
a bad
Cade York.
year.
Let's talk about Cade York.
He's
because
been terrible since week
I've
one.
been his biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And you can't support what he's done the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
I don't want to hear
Yesterday's
about the weather, by the way. He's
No,
got a
nobody's
kick in this weather.
I don't think the weather was an excuse for either one. First of all, the flags were laying flat.
Yeah.
They weren't. It wasn't windy.
Yeah, I wondered because Justin Tucker never misses. And the
Ever.
fact that he missed left,
Well, one of his was blocked.
correct. But the one that he missed, it was at the same end that Cade just absolutely shanked it. And it's funny because it was right before the half, right? And Baltimore was getting ready to line up to kick. And I said, well, we know how this ends. So I got up and left. I didn't even see Tucker's miss.
Oh, really?
And then he missed it. I was like, wow, I can't believe he missed that. So I wonder if the field was soft in that area just because it's so unusual to see
look
Justin
at those
miss.
stats.
Justin
Jay.
Tucker
Look at those stats,
currently
Jay. Look at
is
those stats.
16th. He ranks 16th right now in the NFL in field goal kickers. Justin Tucker
In what?
in field goal percentage.
That doesn't seem possible.
Look it up.
By the way, Cade York.
He's actually lower than that, but I didn't count 3 kickers that have like
Cade
fewer
York,
than 10 kicks.
Cade York since week 5 is 14 of 22 on field
Well,
goals.
the
Yeah,
only thing,
that's awful.
Here's the only defense I'll make of him.
Yeah.
The Vikings made the exact same decision on Daniel Carlson after like one bad game.
I know.
And Cade
Yep.
York's had more than one, but he's a
Well,
rookie.
Carlson was
going
in a
through
bit
struggles.
he was in a bit of a slump. I mean, it was one awful game.
Yeah, and
but
Mike
he
Zimmer
had some,
cut him.
He had some dings earlier too, but
And now Carlson's one of the best kickers.
and
in the
Jay,
league.
I'm not
Justin
saying cut
Tucker
him.
in his
I'm saying
4th
if he
year in the
can't
league.
turn-
Okay.
If he can't turn it around by next year, I got to move on.
Here's why you got to be careful with that, because, like you said, you get better at your job the longer you do it. And for him, I don't think that this is physical at all. It's up here now.
Yes.
And Jay Feely told me I expect him to come unraveled the second half of the season. And I said, why? And he said, because he's not used to missing. And in the NFL, you miss.
Yep.
It's not that you miss. It's how you handle the misses, and he hasn't handled them well,
Right.
which I thought was telling. But he said guys go through that, particularly in your first couple of years. He'll work his way through that. But what was interesting is I just went back to look at Justin Tucker to see his fourth year. He missed 7 kicks. And that was 4 years in. Today,
yeah, but Jay, his second year, he made 38 out of 41.
Listen, he didn't have a great first year. He had a great second and third year. But we're talking 4 years into his career. The greatest kicker ever to do this job missed 7 field goals. So kickers, more than anything else, described to me as like putting. If you guys are anybody that's a golfer, I think you played some golf.
Yeah.
You get the yips, and guys are like, well, okay, describe the yips. I can get the yips as a pitcher. I've got
the yips at the free throw line.
The yips is when your physical capabilities are being overshadowed by your mental deficiency. And that's what he's in right now. When you miss the way he missed with that second one, that's up here. That's a golfer duffing a shot.
You know how you have to correct that. Now you got to go back.
Make kicks.
No. You have to go back and tear that down. You got to tear yourself back down to the ground and build yourself back up. It probably is not going to occur this year.
No, it won't. You got to get
Jay
back. Jay said the way you fix it, he says it's not a practice issue, because I've seen that kid kick on a practice field. He's all world. He can do everything you want a kicker to do, particularly hit very long field goals. With him, I said, so how do you get out of this? He said, you get out of it the same way you get out of the yips when you're putting. Jay's a really good golfer. Scratch. He said, the only way you get out of this, you're not going to fix that in the practice field. That's not his problem. His problem is confidence on the field during games. And he goes, they all go through it. You just got to wait.
If the Browns want to be a playoff contender next year, he's got to make his kicks. If he doesn't make his kicks early in the season, you have to cut him. Justin Tucker.
I disagree with that.
Justin Tucker
wholeheartedly.
The Justin Tucker thing is a bad comparison. Justin Tucker, in his first 3 years in the league, missed 11 field goals.
Right. But what I'm saying is, in year 4, he missed 7.
But Jay,
that's a fact.
I know it's a fact.
Okay.
But it's also a fact that he had missed only 11 in his first 3 years and had already been an All-Pro. So of course you're not going to cut him, because he had already proven he was an excellent kicker.
You know what, Bull?
That's not true.
You can't cut him in year 2.
Hold on. Here's what I'm saying.
Can. You got it.
Here's what I'm going to say to you, Bull, and I actually kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
Look, man,
of course you cut him next year if they're trying to win.
Hey, it's a lot of dudes right now. See, I'm gonna have to go along with the panel. They say everybody get a reprieve. They even try to talk Joe Woods back into the camp.
I'm not.
That's
That's absurd.
Don't put me in that
There's
camp.
no argument.
I'm just saying. That's the case I'm making.
G. Bush is right. There are people that are saying, hey, he should keep his job.
They slide him back in there. Hey, here's what I'm gonna say. All of y'all don't get comfortable, bro. I'm gonna tell you this. Don't go on vacation. I don't care what your wife and kids want to do. You might want to catch them in 2025. If y'all don't come out here next year and y'all don't start off hot, everybody, the kicker, the coaches,
kicker's gone if he doesn't
the
turn
water
around
boy,
next year.
we smoking everything
100%.
out of here. Everybody, I'm telling you, you know how hard it is for fans. They come up to me in a grocery store. Man, this season is a doggone wash, man. I said, I know, it hurts my soul too. But don't talk about you need to get away a little bit, because half y'all ain't did nothing. Deshaun Watson, you supposed to be having sleepovers at your crib with all the receivers, all get the D tackles too. You coach them up. You got enough rooms. You got 97 bathrooms. Get all these boys there. I should see film. Y'all should be just
no excuse for nobody next year. Nothing. Everybody's job on the line, and there's no reason you keep a kicker in the second year.
So you got a guard maybe in year 2, blows a couple holdings, gets blown by in a second. We're cutting them?
Again, a bad comparison.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
You have 5 guards on a team.
You said everybody's going to be held accountable.
You have one kicker.
Sure,
Jay.
I know.
You have one kicker.
I understand that.
You can't keep him. If the guard's struggling, I can put him on the bench.
If
the kicker's struggling, I can't keep him on the bench.
Before you cut a kicker.
Yeah.
And regardless of where you take them, obviously that's going to definitely factor into their decision.
It shouldn't.
But it will. It always does, Bull. You know it always does.
That's why Anthony Schwartz is still here.
He's
yeah,
a fourth-round
kidding.
pick.
If Anthony Schwartz is still here, and he was drafted when?
In the third round.
Okay.
Cade
If
York's
Anthony
gonna be
Schwartz is
He's a
still
wide
here,
receiver.
Cade York's got a
Multiple
job
wide receivers on the
through
team.
his full contract.
So what we do not do is take things on blanket assumptions. It's on a case-by-case basis, right?
Sure.
Right.
It has to be.
The young kicker has some talent. We all saw
Every
it.
kicker's got
so
talent.
he has
Come
some
on.
talent, but you don't get hasty out here.
That's why you don't draft a kicker.
You don't get hasty because you don't know where you're at. Where are you going to go for another one?
You can't stick with a
Where are you
kicker
gonna
that
go?
can't make kicks.
You gotta have.
It's only there's no backups.
Let me tell you something. You gotta have some stones in this world. You gotta have some stones. You sit in. If you see it, if you know talent, you say, "Let me let it ride for a minute." You gotta let it ride.
And that's why he's going to be okay. Is because ultimately the talent is there. It's what it is.
Jay,
it's,
every
it's
kicker that
corralling
struggles,
your talent.
The people that get sunk, Jay, in this business, they're too hasty. They
Yes.
always got to jump.
Well, I
They
think
feel
your
a little
example with
heat.
Carlson's the best.
They feel a little heat. They got to jump.
That is the telltale, cautionary tale why you don't pull
up too
trigger.
early.
Especially at that position. That position is different than almost any other position on the field.
Also, what are we talking about here? If he misses his first 7 kicks next year, he's probably getting
gone.
cut.
Oh, well, look, but if he
that's what I'm
misses
saying.
his first 7 kicks, of course.
That's what
on
I'm trying to
a
put some
case-by-case
parameters around what
That's
we're
the
talking
point.
about.
If he
if
gets off to a bad start, he's gone.
But no, if he misses
Yes.
the game winner in game 1, they're not going to
No,
cut
I'm
him.
not saying one game.
But that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
4 or 5 games in, if he's not making
It's
kicks,
impossible
he's
to-
gone.
I don't think he'll be that bad. But this is just.
Why wouldn't he? He's been this bad this year. I don't know.
He's
I
made some
think-
pretty big kicks this year.
I think
made one
style,
big kick.
style
He has
points
some big
does
kicks.
count. Like sometimes if you're a kicker, you just miss, right? You be like, oh man, he just got to move a couple things,
Just a bit outside.
just a bit out. But when he done had a couple line drive joints.
Hit two inexcusable
awful.
misses.
Too
And those are the for me the worrisome
couple
ones are
shanks.
those because I
Couple
was used
shanks.
to I've played with pro golfers and what I've learned is this. They all have the talent to win any tournament they play in.
Except for-
Like it is
that
right
right here, buddy.
And
Right here,
so
baby.
what Jay's caveat was rookie year, rip it up, throw it out, doesn't count. It doesn't with kickers, it doesn't count. Even if you get a guy that's on a roll and he's 28 for 28, doesn't mean he's here forever. Because what we've seen at that position more than any position maybe in sports, it is so where like on a free throw, I had a conversation with some analytics folks about are we moving more towards betting on analytics or away from it? And the consensus was away from it, and here was why. This was a fascinating stat. I'd never heard this before. Analytics, the use of past to predict the future. One of the analytics gurus told me, and this was fascinating, there's only one play in sports that accurately predicts the next play. Anybody want to guess what that is? When he said it, it made perfect sense. Brad, you should know this.
Yes.
The free throw.
Oh yeah, no question.
So he said analytics, numbers are given grades for how effective they think they are. The highest grade an analytic is given is the free throw because it's the one thing in sports that never changes. There are things about the situation that might change the process, but it's always 15 feet. The rim is always 10 feet high, and the person shooting it that has that analytic assigned to them is a big body of work. So it's the most successful, most reliable analytic in sport.
Nobody's playing defense.
Nobody's playing defense.
The temperature
Nothing.
is the same.
So what he said was, if that's your standard, and it is, and it's the most accurate predictor of future results, everything below that becomes less reliable. And what we're learning from the basis of how we went all in on analytics and they thought the pendulum perhaps has swung too far that way, what we've learned is every single play has a myriad of variables that change every time you run it. And the more variables exist and the more chance for change in those variables, the less reliable that stat is of predicting future results. Is that too complicated?
No, it's less.
I don't know, what is the point?
There's
About
less.
kicker?
Yes, I'm going to tell you how it relates to kicking in a
The
second.
point is that the other 3 kickers in the division, who are probably the 3 best kickers in football,
Right.
all were great as rookies.
Are we going to cut Boswell?
Why would we cut Boswell?
Well, he's below our kicker.
He is?
Yeah, he is.
You sure about that?
So I think we should cut him.
I'm on it. Give me 1 second.
Why would we cut him? He's
He's having a worse year than our kicker, and you're ready to cut our kicker if he continues.
I'm not ready to cut the kicker.
If he continues, if
B,
he
it's
misses
a bad
kicks next year.
comparison again because one guy is a proven kicker and one guy is not, Jay.
He said
How
Boswell
do you not
is-
see the difference there?
Just to confirm,
Yeah.
York is 32nd in the league with a 73.3 conversion percentage on field goals. Boswell is 33rd with a 72.2%.
I think they got to go. You got to cut them.
Why would
I
don't understand.
One has
How is that
a
an
bigger
equal
body of
comparison?
work compared to another one that doesn't. So say
One
for
guy
instance,
has a track record.
What I'm talking about on the how it pertains to kickers in football, and I wasn't surprised when I heard it.
But wait a
in
second.
football,
I made a point that was just ignored, which has been kind of commonplace
What
today.
would you
so I'd
like us
somebody,
to-
the fact that you're like, well, let's just give him, we'll give him another year, and even if he sucks again, you want to keep him.
Right.
The 3 kickers in this league, in this division, who have overall been great in their careers,
right.
all were great as rookies. Great. Over 90%.
McPherson has had a huge
Baker was
step
great
back.
as a rookie,
No.
too. Baker was great as a rookie, so
Yeah.
what?
Wasn't great.
Yes, he
Yes,
was.
he was.
He
He set the record
most
for the most
He was
touchdown
great
passes.
for a rookie. He wasn't great comparatively to the rest of the
Now
league.
you're really splitting hairs.
No, it doesn't
That's
matter.
splitting
I mean,
hairs?
Yes.
guys progress at all kinds of different rates.
And
Because he's
regress.
great as a rookie.
Yeah.
And
But
regress.
the
Doesn't
bottom
matter.
line, Jason, is he's got to kick better next year
Yes.
or he will be gone. That's all I'm saying.
Bull, the bottom line is everybody has to play better next year or they'll be gone, except for Chubb and Garrett.
But the point is,
Yeah.
kicker.
and honest to God, that's the only
the
two
point
that I
is,
think.
kicker, there's no bench, so you
and-
can't
and
keep
the
a guy who's
quarterback.
bad.
The reason I went to the analytics point is we're talking about a stat being reliable at predicting future results. The equivalent of the free throw is the extra point.
Yeah.
Now it's not nearly as reliable at predicting future results because you have a lot of things that change: wind, defense, snap, hold. So it's obviously far less reliable than a free throw at predicting future results.
Very much.
But in football terms, it is more reliable than almost every other play.
It's equivalent because the similarity between the two are this. There's a routine. You
Yes.
stay to it.
A process.
We do not deviate. Once you're in the groove, you're in the groove. I was like an 80-some-odd% shooter. There was a routine. I see it today in my own kid when she's at the line. She got the same thing. They play it the same way. And you don't tinker
You were
with
an
it.
80-plus shooter
yeah.
from the free throw. Okay, so let me ask you this, just from a mental standpoint, because I know you did. When you were in stretches of missing free throws,
Rarely. But keep
I know,
going.
but it happens. Like even 300 hitters have months where they hit 190. Now, I'm not suggesting that you had a month where you shot 60%, but the one thing I'm always fascinated about is shooters, particularly the free throw shot, because it is nothing ever changes. When you were in periods of missing more free throws than your norm, as you would analyze it, was it mental? Was it more likely to miss because you had just missed one?
No, it was because there was something off, just off. So you have to scratch back to the basics.
Right.
It's just like the kicker. Well, you're in a stadium full of people, or like basketball, an arena full of people. I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody. All I saw was the ring, and I could envision in my mind leaving my hand, the ball going up in the air and through that net. That's
So
all I
when you
did.
were missing, it tended to be more because
There was
your fundamental
something-
were breaking down
maybe,
somewhere.
Maybe I was an inch off of my center mark here, just off a shade off of my center mark.
Wow.
But there's a center mark I used, right?
Yeah.
So a fact. Every basketball court in the middle of a free throw line, there's a nail in the middle of the floor.
Right.
You find this nail. Right?
And that's your center.
And you find your center mark off of the nail. Maybe I'm just a shade off. I was just a shade off of it, and I had to find that nail. And as long as I stayed to that, I was pretty true to this, right?
Yeah.
But when you start scratching, you'll miss a shot, and you'll start trying to overcompensate. It's like golf. You start trying to overcompensate this way and that way.
But
then,
this
you
is
then you get yourself into a whole
wait, I
bad
got,
rut.
I got Brad's
Yeah.
official career free throw percentage.
What is it?
.793.
That's pretty damn good for a big guy.
.79.
That's really good.
That was
for a
only
big
had,
guy.
that
worst year was
my rookie year.
rookie year.
Was 60-some-odd percent,
Okay, so
wasn't it?
you know what?
No, 72.
Let's
That's
dive
a good,
into
that's
that.
A good worst.
Let's dive into that.
Yeah.
So if
your
you-
worst year was your rookie year.
Right.
Why?
Because my mentals wasn't right.
Your mind was swimming.
Yeah, the game, it was going too fast, right? It was
Right.
too much going on.
And
right?
that's exactly what's going
Right,
on with
right.
Cade York.
So
and
if
then
you
what
talk about-
happens is when people start squeezing down on you, right? That's where you got to be mentally tough.
But
at.
that makes it worse.
That
It
makes
can
it
make
worse.
it worse.
Because here, we used to have a saying in Chicago: whatever you do, don't go home and look at 4 white walls. You go crazy, right? So you have to figure out a routine. Don't make too much of it, right? Because you'll go home and go crazy just thinking about
Sure.
all the problems.
Jason,
in the world.
what's Cade York's psyche? You're the only one here that's ever
Well,
talked to him.
and Cade, I can tell you, like I give him credit. He answered every question. after the game the other day.
You had texted us he was in a bad mood.
He was in
though.
a bad mood. And he should be.
Yeah, he better be.
He better.
I want him in a bad mood.
So, like, the scrum is on him, and then a couple people leave, and then you know how it is.
Sure.
More people come in. So now you answer the same questions over again, and now you're doing it again. And by the end, he was like, oh, my God, I just want to get out of here.
Right.
And I was trying to walk out with him, and he was in no mood. He was in no mood.
Yeah.
And like I said, I had the theory that maybe the field was soft. He's like, no, I didn't slip. My foot didn't slip.
I like that about him, by the way, because it was not soft.
Yeah.
I saw your text, and I went back and looked at the miss, and I'm like, his plant foot was solid.
Yes. And I thought he slipped. I wondered if Justin had issues. It's totally no. It had nothing to do with it.
I love that he made no excuse.
No. And so you know what we're going to hear next August when he comes back? I'm guessing. Spent time with a sports psychologist this summer.
He
went back to his roots. He went back to LSU. He found an old coach in his swing coach in his history.
Yeah.
And worked with him and got back to the basics. You're going to hear
routine.
all of that in training camp next year. And hopefully it works.
Because, Jason, once you get back to the routine, you can bring yourself back real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Especially if the
you have to
physical.
find that
I think the
stroke.
physical gifts are there.
Yeah.
Jason, you've made a point on this show a number of times, and I think now's a perfect time to revisit it. For as much money as teams invest in everything, to nutrition, to sleep habits, to psychology, to all of that.
An assistant to the assistant to the defensive line coach.
How in the world is it that the NFL, all games are decided by kicks?
Yep.
If we don't like it, but at the end of the day, look at the games over the weekend. Almost everything was a field goal game. Almost everything. And in those games, there were a lot of missed field goals yesterday. I don't know what the hell was going on, but there were a lot of misses. Butker, who never misses.
Right.
And by the way, Butker having a far below average year than normally.
He was hurt early on. I wonder if it's still
He
lingering.
was hurt
30th,
early
by the
on,
way.
but he missed a PAT and he missed a field goal that would have won it, a makeable field goal. I don't know what it is. I don't know why the misses tend to be up. But what I'm wondering is, why the hell don't teams take – your advice is get a sports psychologist and specifically a kicking swing coach.
Teams have sports psychologists on staff, but you don't see a former kicker, a Jay Feely, a Phil Dawson. I don't know if these guys just don't want to do it, but I absolutely – the kicking is the one thing in this game that they can't figure out. Because teams are constantly changing kickers. That's the margins, where you're always trying to find an edge on the margins. And yet these teams can't figure it out because they're constantly turning over the kickers every couple of years. And they haven't been able to unlock it yet. And I feel like it's where they've devoted the least amount of resources to. Every quarterback has a quarterback's coach.
You're right.
And they have their own private quarterback's coach.
Yeah.
Every receiver, there's a specific receivers coach. Special teams, there's just one special teams coach who's responsible for punt returns, kickoff returns, punts, kicks, field goals. What does Mike Prefer truly know? And this isn't to bang on Mike. This is any special teams coach.
I know what you're going to say, though.
How many of them actually know how to help a kicker when it is the most specialized? Golfers have swing coaches.
Probably very few.
And that's why I believe the Ravens devote more resources than any team to the kicking game. Is it any surprise Justin Tucker is the best ever?
It's like a coach telling a basketball player how to hit free throws. You can't shoot the side of a barn. You can't tell me nothing over
I
here.
feel it's luck. If you look, people don't like to say that. It's hard as hell kicking an oblong-shaped football on a field with wind, with a certain trajectory, and you kicking it hard. Plus, people is trying to block it. It's luck. You're not going. But here's the thing. It's like I was watching something the other day. They said, when you talk about a bowler, right? Yeah. If a bowler hits a 6-10 split, 7-10. It's purely luck. It's impossible to replicate it based on the way that
there
pin
is a
moves.
skill set to it, but the actual knocking down of the 10 pin is luck.
Purely
You
luck.
got a good bounce from the pin.
That's it.
I will say this, though, to your point. If there's a skill set to it, right? It says we talk about the World Cup before the show, right?
Yeah.
Those guys over there, they know how to get it done, right? There are people out here that can kick that ball. You have to find them, right? I don't know where they are.
Well, to Jason's point, we haven't been able to do it.
No, again, when I say we don't know where they are, because you have to go out here in this country, and it might be across the country. You have to mine for them. You have to. what we've gotten away from now is we get these services now where people ratings and we take the services. It used to be people, Jay, that would get out in the field and go to the country road in the back and find a guy who was somewhere that you didn't know was at some little place, and that's what he could do, right? Think about when I was growing up, the kickers that they had in the NFL. They were solid guys. We weren't turning over 5 kickers in a season.
No, the bar was different. We talked about that earlier on the show. I went back and looked.
Go back and look.
If
at
you
Gary
were
Anderson
if
and
you
Morton
made
Anderson.
70% of your kicks, you had a job for life.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore
But
because the margin of error is so small.
But even I will say this to wrap. We got a lot
we
of kickers.
spent a lot of time on kicker here.
Brad, there's a difference between free throws and jump shots.
Yeah.
And every person will tell you in the world, when you shoot a jump shot, you don't want to be thinking about nothing. You just want to go up and and when you in the zone, the basket look big, you ain't thinking about your elbow. You're not thinking about whether you got the ball over your head. All you know is I shot that thing felt good, it went in. I think that's the way with kickers. Sometimes if you want a kicker, I feel like when they hit it good and they know it's good, they're not thinking about no release, no kick, no point. They just line up and hit it, and it's money. So, if you can get to a point where you're not thinking, which is very hard.
Well, that's where Justin Tucker is.
That's where he is.
And the hope is that you can get this guy who everybody agrees has all of the intangibles. And by the way, for kickers, the biggest intangible is here. And what have you said that you love about him? He's got the arrogance, the swagger.
Yep.
What I love about this is he's going through a bad stretch when it doesn't hurt the team. Nothing at stake here.
I'll give you that.
So go through your stretch, figure out how to miss and how to bounce back from that. Now, if he can't do it, he will be out of the league. If he can't do it, I don't care if he was the number 1 overall pick. He's got to prove that he can handle misses, bounce back, and be stronger up here. Because the leg, the body, the physical, 100% on all of it. He's got it. But he's got to be right here.
And it's hard to give up on a guy who hit, what was it at Carolina? How far was it?
58-yarder was the longest field goal in Browns history.
It's hard to walk
in his
away
first
from that.
game.
It's
yeah,
really
you're
hard
not,
to
and
walk
they're
away
not.
from
That's why
he's got a leg that can hit from a lot farther.
Let's do this. This was an interesting. You put a bunch of. Do you have a read to do?
Yeah, we still got to do Cleveland whiskey, and we still have to do
right.
Bet Jack. But before we do that, I do want to remind people that we do offer memberships here for some exclusive
Yes, we do.
overtime content. We got 2 tiers. In the starters tier, you get these custom emojis. Jason and Brad have now been added to the queue. You get those Jason and Brad emojis in there. So we've been seeing them in the chat. For $4.99 a
Jason,
month,
your
you get that.
emoji, someone said, looked like constipation.
Yes, you missed that on Friday, Jason. It was a very astute observation. That overtime content
I was told to
comes-
look angry. I guess that's my constipation face. I don't know.
The coaches tier comes with the overtime content, and when we're off the air, you get to continue the conversation on our community tab. The question we asked today was, how would you grade Deshaun Watson's performance? And as you guys can see, bunch of comments. Everyone gave him a B. We had all the comments. Literally, everyone gave him a solid B, B plus,
I think
B
that's
minus,
fair. Yeah,
which is right in the range. So when we're off the air, the conversation does continue. Jay, I don't know where you were going to pivot to next. I'm not sure what.
Well, it was something that you put down
I'm
in the
sure
rundown.
it was genius. And before we get to that genius topic, let's say that genius topic is brought to us by BetJack. Anthony, let's get BetJack up there because the time has arrived, Ohio sports fans. Sports betting goes live January 1st. You can bet on the next genius topic I'll have, whether it'll be before April 1st or not. Take the under on that. I won't have another one until then. Download the BetJack app today. You'll be ready to go all in on all the action. BetJack, it's Ohio Sportsbook.
And can I tell you quickly on the BetJack front, they have their app is live, and you can use it with fake money. If you haven't done that for an NFL weekend, please do it this weekend. Download the app and practice bet as if you were really going to bet games. Now, the fun thing is you can bet 1,000 when you might only bet 100, or you might only bet 50.
Hold on. So this is like preseason.
It's preseason. There's not punitive at all. You can use whatever you want as your currency, 100 points, 500 points, 1,000 points, whatever. But what it gives you a chance to do is sort of learn the lay of the land and how you bet a 3-team, a 4-team, all the different things. But if you lose, you walk away from it. Can you imagine having bet real money on a lot of the NFL games yesterday or over the weekend? There were fortunes made and lost on that idiotic play by the Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine losing a bundle that way? NFL runs a very responsible commercial of a Hail Mary touchdown that had a 0.001% chance of working. It worked. They don't show the play. They actually just show the X's.
People moving. Right.
And the commercial is for bet responsibly. Because the impossible happens here. And it does. We saw it yesterday. We saw it Saturday.
We saw it. I mean, that game was crazy. I don't know what the Patriots were doing there. That was beyond stupid. And for Jacoby Myers, he was throwing the ball to Mac Jones. What is Mac Jones going to do with the ball?
That's who got trucked, by the way.
I mean, my God.
Chandler Jones just
had-
Put him into the center of the earth.
You had the Cowboys blow a huge lead to Jacksonville.
Oh,
yeah.
Jacksonville wins in overtime on a defensive touchdown.
Houston almost beat Kansas City.
I know they did.
2 weeks in a row, Houston's played very well against
Yeah.
Kansas City and Dallas.
It's crazy.
You had Tom Brady was 89-0 with a 17-point lead at home lose, and of course you had the Vikings with the greatest comeback in the history of the history of the NFL period.
Yeah.
It was just an insane weekend
was
for all
rough.
these
And
games.
when you get into, and I'll just say this, don't let them fool you into this. See, I started this a couple of years ago. I got into fantasy late, and usually I get in and I just win everything. That's just because of what I do up top. You know what I'm saying? But they get
Are you in first in our league? You are, right?
Yes.
The playoff matchups are set. In the first round, it'll be G versus Jason and me versus Earl.
Now, here's the crazy part about it. These dudes will get you because then when you start winning, everybody and mama wants you to get into a fantasy league. Fantasy leagues are gambling. I repeat that. Fantasy leagues are gambling. If you are in, I want to give the statistics. Boy, what's the statistic? If you in more than 3 leagues, if you're in 3 leagues, you lose in 2 of them leagues. So you lost that money, and if you win one, you broke even, maybe. So, yes, don't let these dudes at work and at church and at the PTA meeting and the golf club.
I'm in too many. I'm in 5 this year.
It's
football.
7. And you have to
5?
Yeah. I was in 3.
I feel obligated with some of them.
Man, it's hard to keep them
So,
straight.
Jay, what was the topic that I put in there?
You would
wanna
put
get
it
to?
down, and we said it at the time. I remember it after the Jets game saying, this is the one. This is the game that in January we're going to say if.
Yep.
And that is playing out to be 1,000% true. The Browns' playoff chances, if they had won that Jets game, are over 50%.
Oh, this is some.
They currently stand at 0.7%.
Almost cussed.
So, I mean, if you talk about, and we have too,
Over
the difference,
50%?
47 or 48%,
Really?
I think. Now, I haven't done it after all of the games that happened yesterday.
Okay.
Here's what's crazy to me. We talk about, as we're judging this season, it's so, everybody's depressed. Everything is negative. This person's got to go, this coach has to go, this coach has to go, this one has to go. The game is a game of inches, both in the micro and the macro. That lead never, ever, ever should have been evaporated. Ever. I don't know, well, clearly because a 33-point deficit had never been dug out at. That was a longer shot. But that might be the only thing that we've seen happen this year that was a longer shot than the Browns blowing that lead. Because even when Baker Mayfield scored his 2 touchdowns in 4 minutes, there was a better chance that he could pull that off. It was like 99.1. Ours was 99.9.
Yeah,
That's the game that will stick in this season's crawl forever.
And it's the reason when you conditioning and you doing stuff. We used to have military coaches. The military coaches would have us out there doing the dumbest stuff I've ever seen in my life. And they make you pass out. You be flipping tires, carrying other linemen on your back, doing all kind of stuff, perfect push-ups. The reason they make you do that is not because it helps you be better. The reason they do that is they break you down to the lowest common denominator and they make the weaklings quit. We don't want you on the team if you can't do this.
Right.
It's mental toughness.
Right.
It ain't physical.
Right.
Because when you're tired and you got to recover an onside kick, we don't want John Smo who gave up in push-ups. We don't want him that couldn't get up at 6 a.m. You got to be mentally strong. And in these games, when you look at them, people will. I don't got a problem if the Browns was just, physically outmanned by somebody.
They weren't the better team.
But these mental mistakes, you just can't accept them.
If they played the Jets right now, what would that score be?
Who's the Jets quarterback? Because that does make a difference.
To me, White and Zach are interchangeable.
I don't agree.
They both suck.
Mike, well, I don't think either's very good.
I think the Browns will
Senior
win.
franchise quarterback?
But
I think the Browns will win.
No, but
not
Mike,
there.
I think Mike White's clearly better than Zach Wilson, and the team believes
Zach
in
Wilson
him.
had some moments yesterday.
The team doesn't
They
believe
didn't
in
lose
him.
that game because of Zach
The
Wilson.
team doesn't believe
would
in him.
Would the Browns beat the Jets right now?
Yeah,
It's a
that's
toss-up. It could go either
Jay,
way.
what do you think would happen if they played right now? Deshaun is our quarterback.
I think they win.
I don't care.
I'm with Bull. I think it's a
toss-up,
toss-up.
of course
I think
it's
it's a
a
toss-up.
I think they would win too.
But-
I think they were the better team the first time they met.
But it's clearly a
But
toss-up.
they failed the
But
mental
here's-
test.
Yeah.
right? But here's the thing, guys. Like, every team can point to a game they had a 95% chance of better or winning.
Well,
and lost,
95
No,
and
this is
99.9 is
99.9
different.
Bull.
I understand
No,
that.
that's a
There's-
game. That's
Bull.
That's
It's inexcusable.
It's a
That doesn't
historic-
happen every year.
That's an individual.
Should the Browns have won the game against the Buccaneers?
Sure.
No, but no.
Sure?
No,
Yeah.
they stole that.
They should have.
They stole
They
that.
stole that
But,
game.
Bull,
Did they win?
Bull, there's a difference.
But they lost. But you're saying the same thing the opposite
No,
day.
no,
No,
99.9% is that's.
Oh, so
that is-
so what was the Browns' odds of winning that game? 2% against
No,
the
it
Buccaneers?
was higher than that.
But no,
It
listen.
was higher than that.
Here's the bigger point.
They were down 2 scores.
No, here's the
Go
macro
ahead.
point to make
Whatever.
out of all this. This is why I have been adamant not to fire Kevin, is
Right.
because they haven't given up on him. They haven't quit. The Jets game that you're talking about was crippling. What did they do 4 days later? They won. They
did.
came back and won. The Dolphins game was awful. Coming off the bye week,
Came back.
embarrassing no-show. They lost the next one too, and it looked like everything was unraveling, and the season was on the brink. And then
Cincinnati
they stole
happened.
the Tampa game, and they beat Tampa.
okay.
Yeah.
But then they lose to Cincy, and okay,
No.
now it's over. No,
Oh,
no,
yeah, yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
examples.
Gotcha. Right.
The Cincinnati game, well, now you've lost any realistic shot of the playoffs. What are they going to do? They showed up and they won, and they beat a pretty good Baltimore team fighting for a playoff chance. This team hasn't quit on their head coach.
Brad, as a player who had played on championship teams and played on teams that did quit on their coach,
Okay.
because you've told us your your Minnesota experience, where they quit on the owner, but they also quit on the coach. I am 100% with what you just said, is that the fact that Kevin Stefanski didn't lose this team after that, that's as crippling a loss as I can remember in Browns history.
Right.
I just can't remember another loss. Obviously, the playoff loss are more memorable, and they but as in terms of regular season games, that was the most crippling loss I could ever remember, and they didn't quit on him.
No. Kevin's, from what I can tell, Kevin's a decent man, right? I don't think anybody has a problem with him as a man, right? What I find that people have a problem with is his ability to lead men into a place where they want to go. And no matter how they try, they keep coming back to the same thing. So at some point, I'm not advocating for them to get rid of Stefanski this year, but next year is it. This is it.
I do feel
This
like
is-
As you've said 15 times, they should fire him.
But here, they're not going to do it.
No, they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do
They're
it.
not
So
gonna do it.
Brad,
I'm in the next year.
I'm wondering, so there's a difference. Like, it sounds so harsh when you call for a man's job, like he should be fired. But does anybody here believe that he's the best person for the job? Like, he's in the job now, so he's the incumbent. So, but that's no reason to keep him.
There's an
He
unknown.
can, well, here, if he can adjust, what he has failed to do is make this. You want him to adjust to become the CEO, right? Do that. That means go out and empower other people to do the things that you love to do. I know you love calling those plays, but now I need you to manage the ship and the enterprise, right? Right. Find somebody competent and capable enough to do some of the things that you need to do, right? That's what needs to happen. He bucks the system every time. Every time he bucks the system. And because he's comfortable doing what he likes to do.
Here's the thing. I in general, I say as a city, as who we are as Browns fans, we just way too comfortable. We comfortable as hell. We comfortable as hell saying next year. We comfortable as hell saying we'll fix it one day, or he comfortable as hell.
Comfortable in mediocrity, G.
Yes, just it. And I can't even, like, right now we rooting for 8-8, and there's a lot of people. If you don't, I need somebody to come in and challenge people. You know who I Myles Garrett, right? Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward just showed you what he's capable of. I need somebody on Denzel Ward's ass every day.
To get that every week out of him.
Every day. What are you doing? We need that.
So I'm going to stop you there, right? Because you're absolutely right. There's a difference. So Bull's right. So they're comfortable in mediocrity, right?
That's why so many people wanted to stick with Baker. He won a playoff game. Let's stick with him.
What is not
We weren't mediocre for the 25 years prior to that. We were horrible.
Yes.
Mediocre is this. Did you watch Deion Sanders when he walked in that Colorado locker room?
Man, boy.
That's how you challenge people.
Boy,
that's how I'm going to make you get better.
Boy, that was life-changing.
That's how I'm going to make you get better.
I was
You're going to be
excited.
one way or the other.
But Jay, to your point,
I was excited.
The Browns was so bad that people were like, okay, we're mediocre now with Baker, so let's not mess with it. And everybody's so scared in this town because they won one playoff game that a lot of people were so comfortable sticking with mediocrity. We've seen now that Baker's not even mediocre.
If you want to be great, Bull, you have to be challenged.
That's true.
Somebody's got to challenge
Daily.
you, push your buttons.
Daily.
Right? And we don't like
They
to
need
do
an
that
ass
here.
kicker at DC.
Jay's got something he wants to throw in here.
No, I mean, Denzel Ward's a grown man with a massive contract. Why does he have to be motivated?
That's the way life
That's
is.
how it
Everybody
works.
got to be motivated. Everybody. If we come in here today, and they say, well, look, bro, y'all had a decent show today, and we come in here and don't stick to nothing on the script
Jason,
and leave. They're gonna be like, listen,
Did Kobe need to be motivated? Does LeBron need to be motivated? Did Michael need to be motivated?
I'm going to click you on one. Here's one for you. Playoffs. Bulls. Pippen. Kukoc. Last shot of the game. Phil saying, I'm going to Kukoc. Scotty said, no, you're not. You're coming to me. Oh, no. Sit your ass down. Kukoc taking the shot. That's how he motivated. Kukoc goes out and makes the shot. Scotty's sitting there stunned at the end that he made this shot. And guess who came back to the fold harder and hungrier? Scotty, because he caught all the heat.
Well, David
right?
David Blatt tried motivating LeBron.
that's
LeBron
Blatt.
said, scratch that.
That's
Give me
Blatt.
the ball.
but
In Chicago.
but you can like
You're right. The irony of it, you're right.
But I tell you this, it doesn't matter how much money you make.
nah.
Sometimes they have to be challenged at a baseline
you know, though,
level.
in theory, your point is absolutely true, particularly for someone who has a work ethic and you don't understand bringing anything but 100% every day.
Right.
But I think the fact of the matter is, and I'm not saying Denzel is in this camp, what we've seen in modern day athletics is
Come on, keep coming.
there are guys
Keep coming.
that are there to get the check.
Keep coming. And when you get the check, when you secure the bag,
and
what happens?
Sometimes we see those guys get the check and they say, "Whew, I made it."
And
made
in
it.
layman's terms, you know what that is? You take your foot off the gas.
And isn't
Yeah.
it the organization's responsibility to identify those guys and get rid of them before you pay them?
Not give them the big security
That's what I'm
blanket.
saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get the bag, you take your foot off of it, and somebody got to get
And you don't know
realigned.
how you're gonna react until you
gotta
get it.
get realigned here.
And that
the
might be something hard to
the
predict.
problem is, when you see it, Jason, in these sports, you have to call it out.
That's
and,
it.
And when you don't call it out,
they've taken half
there's a
of it off
problem.
the table. They've taken it out. You never call a player out in the media. Says who? Hey, Denzel, you ain't playing like it, bro.
You see what Belichick said after the game yesterday?
I guess he was,
I went back and watched the video after Mike put it in the group text.
I had to see what Belichick. Let me tell you what Doug Collins used to say. In the locker room, this was, he didn't care who it was. If you were playing bad, you know what he would tell you? He'd go to you and be like, in front of everybody. Not quietly behind the scene, not in a plane, whispering in your ear. In the locker room, everybody tell you, you know you stealing. What? What? You know you stealing. Stealing what? You stealing the money. When I heard, I said, what you say to me? I'm like, stealing?
How did it motivate you? How did you
Oh,
respond?
yeah, I was like, oh, you a sucker. Ain't nobody stealing nothing,
I'm
right?
like,
I'm about to show you that I'm not stealing
the
nothing.
dude
went
in
harder to
practice,
prove
You had to go
wrong.
harder.
in practice, Brad was down there dream shaking, hesitation, pull-up game.
And the
You're like,
thing
where'd
is,
that come
Jay
from?
said- I mean, Jay, and to the point, Jay, he didn't differentiate between anybody. He would tell anybody, the all-stars, anybody. If you was on your game, you still in the day. Like,
We
oh
need
my
that.
God.
If Stefanski ain't gonna have it, he need him a Greg Williams. I remember
So
he
good
said,
cop, bad cop.
Yeah, I remember Greg Williams told Myles Garrett, "Hey, I don't want to see you doing nothing but a rip move.
Yeah.
No other moves for you, dog."
Well, that was stupid, though.
You know how disrespectful that is. To tell the
That
guy
was
to-
dumb, though. But that was dumb.
Aren't there different ways to motivate guys though? Like, I think we're trying to squeeze a one-box-fits-all
No, yeah,
tactic.
that doesn't work.
There are so many different ways.
No, at a high level, it's only one
But they
thing.
do.
It's one thing.
Did anybody
Threats.
see Kevin
Threats.
Stefanski's? Did anybody see Kevin Stefanski's locker room speech after the game? Did
Yes.
anybody see it?
Yes.
What is this?
Was like
So,
it's so lame.
It was the
So-
same as all the other
Does
ones.
everybody like stats?
It's so-
Who likes
it's so-
stats?
it's so-
It was so lame, and I have been a bigger homer for Kevin Stefanski than anybody. I don't want to fire him, but like I think he does need an ass kicker as a DC.
Yes.
He needs a loud ass kicker as a DC.
And listen, I don't know who his training staff is.
Yeah.
I need it. You know what they used to do? They used to say, "Listen, I had 13 surgeries, right? You know what? I got the pass. I could not practice this day, or that day." But here's what they did. They made training with the trainer more difficult.
Yeah,
than
so
it
you
was
wanted to
practice.
practice.
I said, hell,
I had
I'm
those
about-
coaches.
I ain't about to do all that.
I ain't doing all that.
All
on the
that,
sideline.
y'all doing that?
When practice becomes easier than rehab.
Let me get over here and give
Yeah,
me reps in.
that's right.
Here's the line. Here's the line of the last 2 weeks. When he was going to Colorado, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing some luggage.
And it's
gonna be
Louis. And it's
gonna be
Louis.
Like,
Andrew Berry should be like this to Clowney. Hey, listen, I'm coming in this off season, and I got
he
a
won't
couple.
be back. Clowney's gone.
And I got a couple
Clowney's so
dudes
gone.
with me. I got.
Yeah.
No,
They
we're not
need to
doing
go.
that.
I don't know what their relationship was like in their time in Minnesota.
Louis, baby.
But I think Mike Zimmer is the right fit for DC. He's always been a great
Zimmer
defensive
just took the
coordinator.
job with
With
Deion.
Deion Sanders.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
He's off the table.
done.
No, they could totally
it's
still get him.
college.
They could totally still get him.
You think he
yeah.
would do that?
Oh, sure. Pay him
Wow.
more money. Give him more money. Jimmy's got unlimited funds.
Would Zimmer wanna
Colorado
do
can't
that,
even
though?
afford Deion.
Would
Like
Z-
Colorado came out and said, "Yeah, we don't know how we're going to pay him yet,
But
but
we'll
we're
get
still
it.
trying to figure that out.
We'll
But
get
we'll
that.
get it."
That is the funniest thing with the whole Deion. Jason,
Right?
you're right.
Mike
they
Zimmer
literally
is a
said we do
defensive
not
ass
have the
kicker.
money up front to pay for that.
And they don't.
So
but
they
they'll
can,
have
the,
a donor
The
that will
Browns
step
can
up.
surely pay if that's who Kevin wants. The Browns can surely pay
I'm
Mike Zimmer
wondering,
more.
would Zimmer do that?
I don't
mean,
know.
It's like, you know what
Well-
that is.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he wants back in the NFL. I have no idea what his mindset is.
Right.
Yeah.
But if the Browns if they double what he's making in Colorado, which probably ain't a whole lot if they can't afford their head coach,
Right.
he would come. But I mean, he's not the only one out there. I'd love to get Brian
To-
Flores. I would love Brian.
I would
Flores.
take Flores in
as
a
defensive
heartbeat.
coordinator.
Heartbeat.
Yeah. I
Listen.
think he'd be great.
Listen,
But is he
shout out
off
to
limits
him.
because of what's going on?
I don't
He's
think
suing,
so.
He's suing the league.
And you know what the Steelers said? So what? Come on, you come work for
That's
us.
what I'm talking about. The Steelers
That's
is
the
like,
right mindset.
we like you. You want to sue the league? They ain't got nothing to do with us. Let's get this money. I need some dogs. If you look at it, it's just nothing worse. You need in Cleveland some dogs. You need somebody that you gonna say ain't afraid to take a 15, and it's going. I need somebody to come in and be like, "Hey, Miles, you can be better, dog. And here's how you gonna be better. I guarantee I got more sacks than you this year. Let's see it. Prove it." Somebody come in. I'm not your running mate. See,
Well, who the hell is that person?
you need a dog. Go
Aaron
find
Donald?
him.
Go find him. Go find him.
Go find him.
Go find
you
him.
guys, like he said, it's people everywhere.
People
You know
everywhere.
how we know? Because the Ravens kick our ass every year with them. Guys you ain't never heard of.
And they don't have to, as you said, they don't have to be big names.
No.
You know the Eagles have 4 guys, not Indomitian Sue.
Right.
They have 4 guys who are going
Right.
to finish with double-digit sacks. Can anybody name any of them?
No.
No, they don't.
Josh Sweat.
Well, you're an Eagles fan. Or no, you're not.
No.
And I only know the one Sweat from the Commanders.
The Commanders,
That's
no,
it.
Josh
We get so enamored sometimes by big names.
That's true.
By the way,
need the player.
Can we just spend a second on ringing the bell for the Eagles and what they've done?
My goodness.
Jalen Hurts, I hate the early MVP
My
discussions,
God.
but since it's only 3 weeks left, I think it's reasonable.
He's the MVP.
Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts should be the MVP.
I don't think it's too early to talk about that at all.
No.
In week 7 it is.
I think to me it's
the hay's
it's
almost in the barn
Hurts
here.
is 1, Mahomes 2,
Mahomes is always going to be in
and
the-
then either Josh Allen or Joe Burrow
So
is 3 to me.
you think about Jalen Hurts' travels. He got challenged. Lou Saban tried
Nick.
to stick it to him, right?
Yeah.
And he had to go rebuild himself somewhere else. He
Right.
bet on himself, right? So you have to get challenged. And he only got better because he got challenged.
But
right?
he's got nice pieces around him. Like
Yeah,
I think
and
that
then,
Philadelphia.
And then you take a nice player and surround him with nice pieces.
Yes, that's
and
it.
good things
Their roster
typically
construction
happen.
is really impressive.
I don't think-
on both sides of the ball.
But again, who is doing the evaluation? Because somebody over there knows what the hell they're doing.
And what
Yeah.
the hell was the
By the way,
Titans
their
doing
GM,
giving up A.J.
their
Brown?
GM is a
That
big
was
time
dumb.
analytics guy also.
What was that?
Well, it's the league thinking that these receivers now are plug and play.
No, they ain't.
And they're not. And they're learning that. Green Bay's learning that. The Titans are learning that. Why would you?
I love Washington's receivers.
I like Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I do too.
I like the feistiness. A.J. Brown is a dog. He
a dog.
Every single time he
He a
on the
dog.
field, he's
They
like,
were
I'm
very
better than
stupid
you.
letting him go.
I'm better than
Yeah.
you. And you throw him with Jalen Hurts. And then one thing that you talked about with Jalen Hurts, you saw it last year. They said, oh, no, his teammates love him.
Yeah.
Oh, they like how he rolled. His leadership. He's everything Carson Wentz button.
They
Got to
want
be
more
one
for
of the
that guy.
biggest year 1 to year 2 jumps from a quarterback.
There's no question.
Yeah.
I mean, he went from being like just a runner
He was just a guy they put in the game.
to winning the MVP. I mean, it was crazy.
He was a cute play.
I've
You know
never.
what's weird though is Carson Wentz wasn't. You talked earlier about. So tell me who at 27 just suddenly was no good anymore. Carson Wentz, when Carson Wentz was an MVP.
Yep.
And he
No,
was,
he didn't win an MVP.
MVP candidate.
didn't win it, but
he got hurt.
MVP level and got
probably
hurt.
would've won it.
Had
He
he
would've
not
won
been
it,
hurt,
yeah.
he would have won it.
Yeah.
And there's a guy where you were like, at some point you think, oh, he's arrived. He's turned the corner. He's going to be here forever. And now Carson Wentz is Carson Wentz.
That just goes to show you the aggressiveness. They
It can't happen.
They not only got rid of their second overall pick, who was having an MVP season, who was hurt. They got rid of Doug Peterson, who was the
Won a Super
darling.
Bowl.
He was the.
And by the way, they're better now than they have been at any point in the last 20
In
years.
fairness to Doug Peterson, the Jaguars are doing pretty well right now, too.
He's doing
and
really
they
well
control their own destiny for the playoffs. in a
Isn't
bad
that crazy?
division.
And they don't play a winning team the last three games.
Trevor Lawrence looked great. He looked
great.
good. He looked really good.
turned the
He looked-
corner.
He looked great.
How about these?
And-
How about the quarterbacks in the AFC? I mean,
I know.
it is crazy how good.
That's
the
why you
quarter-
had to get Watson. Bull, back to your point from
Absolutely.
the very
That's
first
why you had to
show.
get Watson.
From the very first show, that's why you go out and make a move for Watson. That's why you give up any and everything
That's
that
right.
they
You know
ask
what?
for.
That's
'cause
what
you
they
need
did
an
in
elite
Denver,
quarterback.
too. That's what Denver said.
Yeah, but he was
Yeah.
a lot older. Like Russ
He's
was a lot
33.
older.
What's Russ? 33?
Yeah.
And Watson's 28?
But Jay, what was the
27.
alternative? Drew Lock?
See,
No, nothing.
Okay.
Stay the course.
What y'all forget about Russ is he's putting in a lot of work behind the scenes too. He be tired some days, man.
But I still
Hey, that's a
listen,
full-time
Jay,
job, too.
Full-time.
Let me tell you,
The
that
Browns
is a
had no
full-time job.
No matter how it turns out with Watson, they had to do it because they had no chance with Baker,
You on a
and
roll
now they got a
today.
chance.
You on a roll today.
Well, no, that
And I would
takes them
still
off the
make
hook
the Wilson
historically
roll.
if it doesn't work. That's not. I don't agree with that.
Man.
They had to go for it.
No, if it works, it's
Yeah.
a great move.
Yeah.
History's going to judge it.
Right, but I'm
And
saying
because it's an all or nothing move, it's going to judge it by winning a Super Bowl. It was a
I know
great
that,
trade.
but I think it was the right move. I think it was clearly the right move, no matter how it turns out, because they
well,
weren't
no,
in
if
the
it doesn't
game.
work, Bull, it was the wrong move.
In your opinion, in my opinion, it was the right move anyway because they had no chance with Baker, in my opinion. So they had to take a chance with a quarterback that would give them a real shot in the
We have
AFC.
10 minutes left. Let's pick Packers Rams tonight.
Wait,
Baker.
before these picks are brought to us by Cleveland Whiskey. Cleveland Whiskey's Christmas
nice.
bourbon is available now.
Christmas
Visit your local
bourbon.
liquor store. Take some home today. It's whiskey without limits. Drink responsibly.
Toasty.
And if Baker goes off for 4 touchdowns, we know Bull's going to throw a couple back tonight. So Cleveland Whiskey, whiskey without limits.
Nothing's going to surprise. Whatever Baker does tonight, I won't be surprised.
I think Baker comes crashing back down to earth tonight.
You do?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So
Hey.
what Packers 21, Rams 13. Rams offense. I looked at their roster again yesterday.
Yeah.
That Rams offense. It's stunning this team won the Super Bowl last year. I know they've been decimated with injury, but I don't think this team there's not a worse offensive roster in football. I don't think.
Here's what I think. I think Skip Bayless is going to be ready because I think Baker going to come back in here. They already got the montages ready from he did this last year, 4 interceptions. He going to be ready to. I think they get it done. I think
Rams over Packers?
Rams win. Van Jefferson has the game.
Brad, what do you got?
I like the Rams. I
like
think
the
I think
Rams.
I tell you,
Wow.
every time Baker plays crazily and like throws into the wind.
Bull, what do you think?
I got 27-3 Packers.
Blowout. You know, what's funny is we could. Of
course he does.
I love Bull.
He could go on and win the Super Bowl and even say he sucks. and I'm going to pick against him every year next year.
That's false. A, that's not true. I always give him credit when he plays well.
Straight face too.
B, Baker has played like garbage the majority of his games the last 2 years. That's factually correct. And so why would I assume he would play well?
Just judging off the last.
he's so
By the way, I'm
affirmative.
picking the Packers too, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be very boring too. I think it's going to be low scoring. Neither offense.
It's supposed
does
to be
anything
bad
for
weather
me.
there.
Is there
It is. That's why I think it's going to be low scoring, close, and not. I don't think there's going to be fireworks on either
Who
side.
has more in the tank, Aaron Rodgers or Brady?
Jesus. I think they're both on
They're
fumes.
both for fumes.
I-
Brady on fumes.
I'm with Brady.
In
I'd take
fairness
Brady.
to
with
Rodgers, Brady's got much better talent around him.
Yeah, he does.
Brady's got excellent receivers.
They
Rodgers
did.
got nobody.
Hey, they you know.
Although
they-
that Christian Watson has played well. the last few weeks.
Brady looked like a
Watson's- he's a
45-year-old dude.
I don't
God,
care. I'll
he's
stick
gonna
with
be
Brady.
good.
They
I'll stick
choked.
with
Hey,
Brady.
it looked like they choked Aaron Rodgers out slowly, slow tap.
Although
He was like,
I've mentioned a couple times now, I
Yeah.
do wonder if he's regretted coming back.
I don't think
They
you have to
should've
wonder
just-
anymore.
just walk
I
off,
think he
just stay off.
absolutely regrets it.
These guys just don't know what to do with themselves after they retire.
No, they don't. But
kinda
nobody
sad.
wants their final chapter to be what Aaron has been. or even Brady. I mean, they're not dead yet in the playoffs, but they're what, 6 and 8 now?
They're in first place.
They have the Browns
They're
record, and they're in
6
first
and 8.
place.
They're going to have a home
They're
playoff
6
game.
and 8, and the other 3 teams are 5 and 9.
That division
disgusting.
should be contracted. That's horrible.
Relegation
The
needs to
AFC
be
South is not much
relegation.
better.
Now
You know
we're
what?
going-
Last
now
year we
we're
were
going to
saying that about the NFC
relegation
East,
now.
and look at them this year.
That division's
I
awful.
mean, think about it.
Yeah, but at least the NFC East, at least the
Can't they put in a rule if you're not 500, you lose your playoff spot?
3 years in a row under 500, you get relegated.
You got
Browns would be done.
But they're
You
going
gotta go to the Big Ten.
more than
The
likely.
XFL exists for that
Go to
exact
where?
reason
You
now.
got to go to the Big Ten. Browns is on the other side of the Big Ten.
But-
They got to play Michigan.
But there could be a team that wins its division and hosts a playoff game with a losing record.
There will be a team. No,
That
it's,
happened with
it's
the
almost
Seahawks one
it's
year.
almost guaranteed to happen.
It's pitiful. If
Unless-
you're under
unless
500, you're out. You go find another wild card team and put them in. You at least have to finish.
So it's the
500.
Bulls league. The Bull was telling me about the fantasy league rule that I wish was in play in my fantasy league.
Yeah.
I finished third in points for. Won it last year. Third in points for. I finished 9th in the standings.
Yeah.
I lost 4 games by 2 points or less. 3 under 1 point.
Wow.
Under 1 point. I mean, it's the worst luck of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here destroying it this week in a it doesn't matter. But we play for 7th place, too, in my league.
you got them consolation
Yeah,
brackets?
so
Yeah,
I'm going to win. I'm probably going to score, the most
Well.
points. And what does it mean? That's a shot.
that's-
That's a hell of a shot.
Well, think about it. Dallas is going to be. Dallas is going to. We know Dallas routinely chokes in the playoffs, but they'll be a big favorite over whoever wins the NFC South in the first round.
Oh,
And-
absolutely they will.
and
Well,
what-
they won't play.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, Dallas
It'll
gonna
be
be
the
the
4-5.
because the
It'll
Eagles
be
will get the bye.
4-5.
Yeah. Eagles have the bye.
And Dallas is going to be the 5 seed, and so the NFC South winner will be. And then the AFC South winner.
But they'll have to go on the road.
Right, but that team's terrible. Whoever wins the NFC South is terrible.
Do you want to play Brady on the road in a playoff game? I don't.
I just. If it's Brady, I don't know that it's going to definitely be
I think-
Brady.
I got a quick question.
And then in the
Oh,
AFC, whoever wins the South, the Titans or the Jaguars, are going to host either Baltimore or maybe Cincinnati, the Chargers or the Dolphins. Like, those teams will all be big favorites over who wins
Who's
the
Cincinnati
South.
have left? They're going to clearly win the division now,
It's
right?
not. Well, they still have a tough schedule. They're at New England this week. Then
That's easy.
Then
They play head-to-head still. Baltimore and Cincy have another game.
That's the
head-to-head.
last game of the year in Cincy. And the Bengals play the Bills on Monday Night Football on January 2nd.
This may be the dumbest
Oh, they
question
do?
ever,
Oh, wow.
but I need y'all's help. I've always wondered this. How is it that when the 2 referees is underneath the goalpost, that they know it's good without looking up?
Yeah, no, it's weird. I think they do look up.
they
Don't
look up.
They look up, G. What are you talking about?
I don't think they look up like that, bro.
Yeah,
like
no, they do.
they
track the ball.
but see, when it's way up top, and say
Yeah.
for instance, it goes over the pole. Like
If
it
the
goes
ball
over-
disappears, it's good.
What you mean?
It has to be outside the upright if it's over the upright for it to be a miss. So in
Yeah.
other words, if it goes directly over the upright, and because the officials stand directly underneath the uprights, they look up, and if the ball disappears, the kick is good. If they see part of the ball, if they see the ball on the left, if you're on the left upright, or the right on the right upright, then the kick is no good.
By the
See, I
way,
never
guys,
knew that.
did you see? I mean, there was some terrible officiating in the. First of all, that last touchdown the Raiders scored to tie the game.
Oh, my God,
It seemed like he was
absolutely.
clearly out of bounds.
I know.
And then, did anybody watch the end of the Washington Giants game last night?
I did.
I turned it off.
Now,
Turned it
Washington
off.
may have lost anyway, but Washington, what was it, 3rd down?
Oh, when it was 17-12.
No,
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 it was 2012, the last
8,
drive of the
yeah.
game.
20 to 12. Washington throws a touchdown pass, and they called.
No, they ran it, didn't they? They ran it.
Oh, they ran it.
They ran with Brian Robinson.
But they called a
McLaurin,
Yeah.
illegal formation.
illegal information,
he was
even
lying.
though McLaurin had just asked the ref if he was good.
Yeah, that's a stupid rule.
It's
Like,
such a
it's dumb.
terrible rule.
like,
Dumb.
s-
Dumb.
Explain to me how in football you can send a man in motion, give him a head start,
But he's got
full head of speed,
Yeah.
and you can snap it, and that's okay. But if Terry McLaurin is 6 inches back or forward, that's
But he
that's
had
cheating.
he had just asked the ref, and then on the next play, I don't remember who it was who was the receiver, but he got basically tackled in the end zone, Mike.
yeah, it
Oh,
was
was it
definitely.
Kurt-
Listen, as someone who roots for the Giants, who his family roots for the Giants,
Yeah.
I certainly thought it was a great, respectable call.
No,
I
it
saw
was
nothing wrong with
two
either
calls
of
in
those.
a row, just screwed over Washington.
I mean,
Homer.
How do we know?
Listen.
How do we know the line judge didn't say to McLaurin, no, like move up or move up?
He did. He told him he
And
said move up, and then he moved up.
Oh, he moved up like a quarter of an inch. He barely moved.
See,
he barely moved. It's a dumb rule.
Well, here's what I hate. It's like calling a runner out for coming inside the baseline at first base. Like, this happens a lot, and it's not called.
it's
and you're going to
crazy.
call it there?
That's ridiculous.
I was like,
It was a bad.
see,
and then they swallow the whistle on the next play.
A referee umpire is not supposed to be seen at the end of the game. They injected themselves 2 times. The lineup at the end when
it better be so egregious.
And then the pass interference penalty
on the next play
that they didn't even call.
On the next play,
Can I ask you guys?
We have 60 seconds.
60
so whatever
seconds.
you're doing, make it quick.
I think pass interference in the league should be 15 yards, not a spot foul. It's too egregious.
Like college?
Just like college. You're given such an advantage. Like, especially if the ball was not catchable or
Yeah, you're making the assumption that he would have caught it if not interfered for, and that's not always the case.
15-yard penalty. I'm sorry.
I think the fear is DBs will be even more aggressive pulling guys down when they get beat because it's only 15 and not a spot foul. And maybe even less catches and more penalties.
And the league wants more, not less, when it comes to offense.
But I don't disagree with
late
your
hit.
point.
I think
it's very punitive.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think late hit should be reviewable.
I am now 1 for
illegal
47 on water
roughing the
bottle
passer.
shots. I want that on the record.
1 for 47.
1 for 47.
See you tomorrow.
I like where you're trending, though.
I think maybe a real quick idea, 20-second idea. We'll end final takes at like 57 from now on, and then everyone gets a water bottle shot, and we'll take it on camera, and we'll end the show every day.
I like what you're doing with
a water
that.
bottle shot.
I like what
Tomorrow,
you're doing.
DJ
over my
Hazmat
head.
debuts his
DJ
new song.
Hazmat, I love that guy.
Debuts his song on the show with Didi, and a very special guest that I can't tell you about, but a very special guest that
All
Mike
right.
Polk will go crazy for.
Peace out. See you tomorrow.
Out of here.
Somebody's outside.
Yeah, that's Herbie with your package.